Okay, everybody, welcome back to Watts the Obsession live stream and chat. And we have a really special live stream for you this evening. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the Watts case, and we are going to be talking about questions that we as a public still have about the case being resolved and about complete justice being found for the victims, Shanann Watts, who was 15 weeks pregnant, Bella Watts, and Cece Watts. And how does that relate to what happened in the investigation and the prosecution of this case? So some of you may know, I just dropped the ultimatum part 2 video on Friday evening. It's a chunky 90 minutes long. So make sure you've got yourself a good block of time, get all comfortable, get your whatever makes you happy when you're watching something, and get ready to pay attention, because there's a lot of information in that video, including some new information that was learned as a result of Watts the Obsession's team investigation. It's one of the pieces of information that we learned that I've been mentioning here and there since a few months ago. I tell you what this information is in the video, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, I hope not too much. We learned what it was exactly, the details that sent Chris Watts' mistress, Nicole Kessinger, over the edge, so she snapped. And it's what made her eventually just put it out there for him, an ultimatum. It's me or your family. So all of the details are in that video. The link is in the description. It's ultimatum 2, ultimatum 1. If you didn't see it, the link is in the description there too. They definitely kind of go together. And there's going to be a part 3 coming up, because as you'll see at the end of the ultimatum 2 video, there's still some loose ends to tie up. But it's kind of in an exciting way, because we're putting the pieces of the puzzle together. To hopefully, it is my hope, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, let me know, that someday we will find complete justice for Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. Now, don't get me wrong, Chris Watts, in my opinion, is exactly where he should be. He should be in prison, bitch should be behind bars. But in my opinion, there's still some justice left to be served. So what we're going to be talking about tonight with our special guest, Crafting Crime with Jennifer, and Pairwoman Radio with Amy. They're going to be coming on in just a moment. I'm so excited to have them on the channel. They both have their own channels. Some of you know them, and if you haven't been to their channels yet, definitely go check them out. They cover the Watts case in addition to other things, and I'm really just so excited to hear their opinions and to talk with them about the material that we're going to take a look at tonight. So again, we're going to be looking at the investigation, things that Tammy Lee said, District Attorney Rourke said, that the record said, that the discovery said, pieces of the interview that we heard while the very short-lived investigation was going on. And then we're going to compare it to what we know now, the questions that we still have, and the things that don't link up. And hopefully I'll be able to provide you some answers as well. So that's all very cool. So before we get started, I just want to tell you about something. Here, let me change my little view here. So it was just the 4th anniversary of Watts the Obsession. Believe it or not, some of you here, I know you're OGs. You've been here since the very beginning. So shout out to you and thank you so much. And a lot of people are new, and you've added so much life and energy and personality to the channel. And I am so grateful for all of you. So we're celebrating our 4th anniversary this month. We're doing a bunch of special events. And the first one is Watts the Obsession raffle. And it's going to be going on through tomorrow evening, because the winners are going to be picked and announced during tomorrow evening's live stream. And that's going to be a live stream about the Idaho case. That's going to be a special live stream too. After the Dateline recently came out, some of you will know what I'm talking about with that. That just was pouring with copious amounts of information that had never been heard before. A lot of people are talking about it. Well, I did talk to my 2 sources at the University of Idaho, they're former students now, who were good friends and fraternity brothers of Ethan Chapin. They had a lot to say about the information released on the Dateline video. And I told you that I had seen before part of that security camera footage that was released that was from 1112 King Road. I didn't see the part that showed the white Elantra. I just want everyone to know that was not shown to me. I just got a glimpse at how clear that the view was from that security camera. The security camera footage that does show the white Elantra was shown in that Dateline clip. And so we're going to talk about that. And we may know something about the sources possibly where that came from. So there's going to be a link. Honey Bun, could you put the link in chat to the community post that tells you how you can enter this raffle? So there's going to be one grand prize winner that's going to win the Watts the Obsession Crime and Justice blanket that you see right there. I'm going to show you another picture of it. Honey Bun made it because she's an artist. She did the design for this channel, the logo. She's so amazing. The blanket is so awesome. So the first prize winner is that, plus my friend and true crime author Kathleen McKenna Hudson's Watts books. So the first one was Blood and Marriage, and you can get that in Kindle form or in hardcover. And then she has, even though she swore she was never going to write another Watts book, we have some things to tell you. So she has another book that is going to be released. It's going to be released this July. So there's going to be, the first prize winner is going to get all that. And then there's going to be 5 winners that are going to get the books, the Blood and Marriage book. And then you 5 people are going to be the very first people to get the first 5 copies of her upcoming book that's coming out this summer. That's going to be a page turner. So that's pretty exciting. So if you do want to enter the raffle, you can enter it through PayPal or Cash App. It's the channel's PayPal or Cash App. And the reason we're doing that is because we're just trying out PayPal and Cash App, because YouTube, again, is changing things with the super chats and stuff like that. So a lot of channels are doing that. And I decided I was going to hop on board because it's getting a little ridiculous. But mostly, I thank you for the support of the channel, because we do need it. And I'm so happy to be able to give back to you and offer these awesome, awesome prizes for you. Oh, and here's another picture of the blanket that Honey Bun made. Isn't that so awesome? So it just features pictures of a lot of the cases that we have talked about. So, you see there's some of the Watts victims, Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. Then we have Kylie Rodney, and then Ethan and Xana from Idaho, and then Kaylee and Madison, and then the whole Idaho 4 group there together, and then our sweet little girl, Madeline Soto. So it's just such a cool blanket. And thank you so much, Honey Bun, for everything that you've done and for creating that. It's just freaking amazing. Thank you so super much. So with all of that being said, let me get our guest up here on stage. So again, this is Jennifer from Crafting Crime and Amy from Para Woman Radio. So let me just get them back from behind stage and and change my view so you can see them. All right. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hey there.
Hey, so I'm first, Jennifer, for my view, is right next to me. So I'll introduce you to Jennifer from Crafting Crime. Am I saying your channel name right?
No, Crafted Evidence. Yeah, no worries.
I wasn't sure. Okay, Crafting Evidence. I'm sorry. We're gonna put your channel link in the description in the chat. I'm so sorry about that.
And also, I'll be an avatar, so that.
What's that?
If I actually do my avatar, then people can kind of see it as well. There we go.
Awesome. You know what, Jennifer, when my friend was telling me to go hook up with you and check out your channel, she was referring to it as Crafting Crime. So that's why I've got that in my head. So I changed
Well, I do crafting as well. Like, you never know what you're going to get.
Tell people about your channel real quick.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get. You might get crafting. Amy and I actually were listening to Wade Wilson prison phone calls the other night while we were painting. And
always a good time. I mean, Wade Wilson, you can't go wrong.
No. And so, yeah, we do a lot about, true crime, of course, but also health is a big thing we're doing as well. So you never know what you're going to get.
Very
cool. Love open-minded people to join my chat and join my group. We can all agree to disagree and have different opinions.
Sure. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Jennifer. And then let me also introduce Amy from Para Woman Radio. So, hey, Amy, girl, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Kelly?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone just a little bit about your channel, then we'll get going.
Oh, well, we do true crime, paranormal, conspiracy. We kind of do a focus on women and the unusual. And I'm also changing my name. I'm doing a soft change right now to it. I'm going to change it to the Power Network instead of Para Woman Radio. It's just easier to say. And we do a lot of stuff on the Watts case. So I'm happy to be here on Watts Island.
Awesome. Yeah, Watts Island. Oh, since you mentioned Watts Island, I just want to say our honey bun who designed that blanket and the logo you see there also designed another logo. It's the Watts Island logo, guys. It is so cool. And we have merch coming out by the end of the month. We're just going to have shirts right now, hoodies and t-shirts and coffee mugs because, that's kind of like the standard thing. But I'll show that to you at the end of the stream because I just think it's so cool. Everyone needs a Watts Island shirt. Come on.
Yeah, I'll buy one. Sold.
Yeah. Awesome.
Also, Kelly, if you do want to give away a bonus raffle prize, I will do that board and we can show that at the end too.
Awesome. Let's definitely do that. We could add that in. We'll decide if we want another winner, if we want to add it in with a grand prize. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for mentioning that.
Sure. Just so other people feel like, hey, I didn't win. There's still a chance.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So everyone get your raffle tickets and then we'll do the drawing tomorrow night. And then we're going to be doing another one probably we'll give it about a week or something, but we'll be doing another one. We have just like a bunch of great stuff waiting for you. And then the very last one, we're going to be giving away the very first Watts the Obsession merchandise to a bunch of people. So be ready for that. All right. So what we're going to talk about again is the Watts case investigation. Now, I don't want to give this too much of a preface other than to say that what we're going to be looking at today is it supports, again, I dropped that Ultimatum 2 video on Friday night. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It's linked in the description. And it talks about the series of events that led up to Nicole Kessinger giving Chris Watts an ultimatum. So now many of you know, or maybe you don't, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you are, please say hello in chat. Let us know where you're from and what you're interested in this case. Our only rules here are please be respectful to one another, of course, and the victim's family members. That is the Rusick family and the Watts family. We just want to be respectful to them. They've suffered immeasurable pain, and we're just going to be respectful. So that's the rules. Anything else goes. Don't be hateful or vile, and you're all good with us here. So opinions are good. Discourse is good. Discussion is good. So, everything that we're going to look at today is going to be material that supports what is in that Ultimatum 1 and 2 video, talking about the series of events that led up to Nicole Kessinger delivering Chris Watts an ultimatum. Now, Watts the Obsession has been investigating myself, and we have a team of people within the channel, but then I work with 2 people that are outside of the channel too. We what did I say to Amy earlier? We hit pay dirt a few months ago with finding out information that is not yet known to the public about this case, and all of the receipts and all of that are going to be coming out in successive months. There's legal issues with it, so we just have to be careful about it. But one of the pieces of information I talk about is revealed in the Ultimatum 2 video, and that is what is the straw that broke the Skanky Empanada's back. And if you don't know, the Skanky Empanada on Watts the Obsession is Nicole Kessinger. What was it that, what was her breaking point that caused her to give Chris Watts the ultimatum? We didn't know before. We just found out recently through our investigative efforts, but now we know. And it makes so much sense, but I hadn't thought of it. I'd never heard anyone else talk about it. I think it's kind of interesting. So we're going to be looking at the investigation, what the investigators had to say from their perspective, how it really panned out, and we're going to be exposing lies that were told during the course of that investigation. Guys, if you could just chat for a second, please do. I just have to do that reboot I was talking about, Amy. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
Absolutely. You're telling me there's lies in this case? No way.
Imagine that. Lies?
Yes.
In the Watts case? Yeah, Cowboy RC, I have to email you. I said I was going to email you today and I didn't. So just expect an email.
Okay.
We want to do a collab with you.
Yeah, we want to talk prison talk. Cuff you, thank you. I think that was a donation towards Kelly.
That is so sweet.
Greatly appreciated. Checking out the chat. Thank you guys all for being here. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Hit those emojis. Let's get out into the algorithm. As Amy, what's that phrase you always say? Dance your fingers up.
Like to dance out into the algorithm. Party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help Kelly out.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yay. Oh, guys, thank you so much. I just love you so much. Thank you, Cuff You, for the, she says, put me in that pot again, honey bun. So she's entering the raffle. And thank you, Cuff You. We just love your enthusiasm. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And you know what I'm going to ask you to do? You guys know, please hit the like. It helps so much. Really appreciate it. And you just can't thank you enough. All right. So I'm going to bring something here into the stream. And we're just going to hear a little bit from, well, oh, it's going to be a surprise. Check it out.
Okay.
That morning, she volunteered.
Whoops. Got to fix the view here. You don't want to miss any of this. Trust me.
I did this the other day. I didn't take my photo down, and I was like, Amy knows. I'm trying to learn the board.
I really love that blanket. That blanket is really cute.
That's so cool. Honey
Yeah.
Bun made it. She's so
Yeah.
freaking talented.
Cute.
Yeah.
Honey Bun, do you have a website that we can check out?
Yeah, right. That's a good
I don't
question.
think she does, but we're gonna work on that. But Honey Bun, if you want him to go to your Insta or anything, just put that in there. We'll definitely get that out there. Okay, I'm gonna bring this in, my friends. By the time you are done watching this video, you're going to understand that something very wrong happened in the initial hasty investigation of this case. A case so horrific, the whole world began watching right away because the whole world wanted to know, how could a seemingly loving father do something so horrible? The very family members who trusted him, who counted on him, who relied on him, who loved him, and never questioned his love for them or his commitment to their family. Chris Watts took the lives of his wife, who was 15 weeks pregnant, his 4-year-old daughter, Bella Watts, his 3-year-old daughter, Cece Watts.
So I'm here with my little munchkins.
And the unborn baby that was going to be his very first son, baby Nico Watts. This crime is so horrible, people either refuse to even learn about it, and once they turn their heads and their attention to the story of this crime, they seem to not be able to turn away. I dare to say it's impossible to overestimate the strength of feelings, of passion, of opinions that people have about this case. Many of us feel a unique and peculiar bond to this case, to the family, to the Watts family, because we can relate to them. With this true crime case more than any other, we've heard more people say that they feel a strong connection to the victims, to the family, and to the victims' family members who are still alive. Now, you would think with a case as horrific as this that law enforcement and the prosecutor's office would share the same passion for pursuing justice as does the public, for the victim's sake and for the family member's sake. I mean, when you just look at the basic elements of this case, the murder of a pregnant woman, a 3-year-old and 4-year-old baby, and the way that the bodies were disposed of, it's absolutely egregious. There really aren't words that can describe how horrific this crime was. This is the kind of crime that causes us to put our faith and trust in the justice system and the prosecutor's office. Because after all, what more horrific crime could be committed by a human being? This is the kind of crime where if you give a crap about justice, you are going to make sure that the perpetrator of this crime is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, that all of them are. Meet District Attorney Michael Rourke. This is the man who accepted lip service as answers about this horrible crime that people to this day still cannot wrap their heads around. This is a district attorney who had no interest in pursuing complete justice for Shanann, Bella, Celeste, baby Nico, and their family members and friends.
Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement. She provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop. Leave me alone.
That was District Attorney Rourke commenting on Nicole Kessinger in March of 2023. The context is that he's on his wife's podcast, Survivor's Guide to True Crime, and he's scoffing about the popularity of the discovery files, saying that Weld County had to come up with a system to disseminate the discovery files, and kind of, so many people wanted to read the discovery files for this case. He said that it's as recently as last week that he received an email asking to open the case to investigate Nicole Kessinger, and says a moderate estimate is that his office has received 5,000 to 6,000 emails making that same request. Let's see what DA Rourke had to say about Chris Watts' mistress after his sentencing in November of 2018.
Can you give us a better idea of her role in the investigation, how forthcoming she was, and how she helped?
She originally came forward and spoke to investigators on her own volition. Prior to the time, unfortunately, that she came in and spoke with investigators, she had deleted all of the information off of her phone that had any connection between her and Chris Watts. That hampered the investigation. That hampered our ability to get that electronic digital connection between the two. She was interviewed on multiple occasions. I believe that for the most part she was forthcoming.
It's clear that there are some major discrepancies between what District Attorney Rourke said in 2018 after the sentencing, and then what he said most recently in his wife's podcast in March of 2023. In his most recent recollection, he says that she came forth voluntarily and she was forthcoming with the information that she gave to investigators. Yet in 2018, after Chris Watts' sentencing, he said that she hampered the investigation by not giving investigators all of the information. And then he says that he believes that she was forthcoming for the most part. Very different statements, Rourke. We know the truth about Nicole Kessinger, and we know which of his statements is the accurate one, the 2018 statement or the 2023 statement. And the accurate statement is the 2018 statement, and it's an understatement because we know Nicole Kessinger obstructed justice by destroying evidence. We know this hampered the investigation, and we know that she was absolutely, completely not at all forthcoming with investigators. Not at all, not whatsoever. But let's go ahead and set aside the mistress for a moment and just look at what happened with Chris Watts' plea deal. Now, first of all, it is... you know what? We're going to save that for a little bit later. So do you guys have any thoughts? So we're going to save that for a little bit later there. Oops, I got to unmute Amy there. Sorry. When I play videos, I just mute the mics because there's always a little tiny bit of feedback. So do you guys have anything to say about just what we watched there about his District Attorney Rourke's statements about Nicole Kessinger's role in, the crime on his wife's podcast? And that was in March of 2023 versus what he said at the press conference after the sentencing in November of 2018.
Amy, do you want to go first? I have a lot to say about him. So.
No, go ahead. You go.
Okay. I know this man hates me because I've reached out to him several times.
I'm sure he loves me.
Right. And to the point where getting frustrated, I reached out to the Attorney General's office and was like, listen, this man doesn't reply to us. And there are people in Colorado who are scared. Mm-hmm. And they said, you have to go back to the DA. They're the ones who handled the case. And I said, but he isn't replying. And I'm saying this in more lax terms than the way I wrote it to them.
Sure.
But they pretty much threw it back at me and said, he's an elected official. There's nothing we can do about it.
Well, exactly. He's an elected official. He's been elected to serve the public.
When did you write him?
2 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Well, the Attorney General I wrote 2 months ago, but I've been writing Rourke for 3 years probably. And he never replies. Have you ever gotten a reply from him?
Have I?
Yeah.
No, and I don't know anyone who has.
Yeah.
I've never written them, so.
I've gotten something from the Frederick Police Department, and they say this case is closed. We're done. We want closure in our community. And then, of course, they push you off to DA Rourke, who does not answer you. However, then we go on Wifey's podcast, and I found that to be very interesting. And then that got removed. Reached out to Wifey. She won't reply either, asking, why did you guys take it down?
Did her podcast get removed or just that podcast?
No, just that podcast.
Just that one. Oh.
It is back up now, last I checked, but it was temporarily removed.
Well,
You think
Cuff,
it's back up?
It was just a couple weeks ago. Yeah, because it's gone up and down. It's been removed. It's been back up. The whole thing's been removed. The whole thing's been back up. Yeah.
Cuff, you made a good point in that he couldn't even remember the color of the girl's hair. He couldn't even remember that. So we're supposed to trust him, who he can't even remember what these girls look like. No.
Yeah, and I have that clip in here. I was just going to try to find it so you can hear it, because it's pretty. I'm going to try to find it so you can hear, because it's pretty it's pretty disgusting to hear.
I will say there's no doubt in my mind that everyone suffered trauma from this case, you know, and like probably
because the episode that of the Wife's podcast was called Prosecutorial Vicarious Trauma with the Honorable Michael J. Rourke. Yeah.
Oh wait, are you playing that? Or are you playing his TED speech?
No, well, what I just played was a clip of him talking on his wife's podcast.
Okay.
And then the little excerpt that Cuffy was just referring to, where he mischaracterizes the girls, the victims, Bella and Celeste, is also on the Wife's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, if you guys haven't checked it out, the TED talk he did, it sounds like he probably had the same speech. Because he says the same thing about their hair being long. And there's no doubt, I believe that, yes, you probably are traumatized, but
more than two on that, please do all of these destroyed evidence.
Sorry.
Oh no, I thought you were playing a clip, so I was quiet.
Oh no, I was just looking for it. No. You're good. Keep talking.
No, you're good. And then I don't know if you guys also have seen that article on the lead detective, Dave Baumhofer, who like he can't even go into restaurants because he has a panic attack.
PTSD.
And if you read his blog, which has now been taken down, he makes it sound like he actually retired because he knew some things were going on that he was not cool with.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's very possible. He does make it sound like that. And I personally think that Dave Baumhofer and Detective Michael Prill, who we're going to reference in a moment here, I think as far as the investigators who were on this case, they were the ones who had integrity, who were investing this case with vigor, who really wanted to look for the answers and find justice ultimately. But, you know, I've always gotten the feeling, and now we know that some of the other investigators, and certainly the prosecutor and the prosecutor's office, were not so interested in justice, because the things that they know happened that should lead to not only chargeable crimes, but crimes that must be charged for the sake of justice were brushed under the rug, overlooked, and just discarded whenever possible. It's really horrible. Yeah. So, Amy, do you have anything to say? Oh, we lost Amy.
Oh, she'll come back in. Actually, I'll text her. Okay. I want to bring up this comment by Don Schmidt, Kelly, that he wanted to talk about. I don't think I can pin it, though.
I'll pin it. I'll find it.
But everyone has been talking about that you brought this out into the, into the realm here. And now people want to know What
Mhm.
is going on? Answer the question.
Right. Answer the question because there are so many unanswered questions. And Don, I am so glad that you brought that up because I mean, doing a live stream talking about the unanswered questions really wouldn't be complete if we didn't address that information that was in that video that you are talking about. So super good call because I do want to touch on that too. So thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah. There's a whole series of things. I'm gonna actually grab this video and just show you exactly what Don is talking about because there were some very strange things that happened that are right in the discovery. Now, a lot of the strange things that happen, as I'm going to be talking about in some of the prepared content I have for you, just miss the discovery somehow. It's like they, again, wanted to sweep it under the rug or make it disappear altogether whenever they possibly could. But some of the things were in the discovery. But when people said, oh, well, that's really strange. Oh my gosh, that's a little bit alarming. How do we make sense of that? What does that mean? Oh, there's nothing to see here. And as District Attorney Rourke said, you just heard him in that clip that was from his wife's podcast. Leave me alone. Well,
Yes.
that's an honorable man.
Amy
for
is
justice.
backstage, she said.
What's that? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
She's backstage. She said she just.
I got her. Okay.
Yeah, there she is.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
All right, you're good.
He was very aggressive. Like,
yeah,
he
was.
And it's like, leave me alone. How about leave us? Because there's more than just you that did all the work, dude.
Right. Or, I mean, for a district attorney, somebody who is in his position because he's been elected into that position for the purpose of serving his community with the goal of justice in mind, to ever say to the public, leave me alone, I think is atrocious.
Yeah.
Yes. And do you know how he met his wife?
Yes.
Okay. Amy, do you know?
No, I don't.
Let's not go into all of that because we've got like a lot of stuff to talk about, but it is very interesting.
Go research it.
He was a crime victim.
It's interesting.
Oh, okay.
And she's much younger than him, but she was a crime victim. He was a prosecutor, and he put away this guy that did some terrible things to her. She suffered a horrible crime, and then years later they got together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just an interesting tidbit.
Yeah, and I mean, you can find love in all kinds of places, but it's just interesting. Yeah, you're right. It's just interesting, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it totally is. So, Amy, do you have anything to say, my friend?
No, I was booted, and so I just was in and out of the conversation. So no, I don't right now.
All right, very good. Well, so I am going to. Oh wait, you know what? I'm going to do the download. So, guys, I know that some of you know that, like, when I'm going live on my StreamYard, sometimes I get like booted off. I have to reboot, and Amy just taught me a little trick that I'm embarrassed to say, like, I didn't know previously, that you can't just play things maybe off of YouTube, that you have to download them first and then put them into your assets folder and play them that way. So hopefully we will have a smoother, time with that. I'm really embarrassed that I never knew that, but I just didn't. So there, it's already downloaded. That was
friends. Welcome.
No, come back.
Watts.
Okay, so I'm actually going to bring in the video that talks about what we have pinned up here that Don Schmidt was talking about. That says, "Hey Kelly, Jennifer and I have friendly running bone of contention. The unknown Apple device that logged into the router is this info in the discovery." Well, Don, it's your lucky day. We are going to answer your question right here and now.
Session. So many of you know, probably most of you know, about the 6:16 a.m. ping that registered on Chris Watts' mistress's phone, Nicole Kessinger's phone, on August 13th, 2018. That is the morning of the Watts family tragedy. That is the morning when Chris Watts' family was annihilated by himself and perhaps with the help of another. And one of the things that makes many people believe there was help from another is the 6:16 a.m. phone ping from Nicole Kessinger's phone that happened with, according to the experts who have weighed in with What's the Obsession, within under 300 to 400 yards from 2825 Saratoga Trail, the address of the Watts family's residence. And although this is compelling evidence towards the possibility or probability or definitive understanding that Nicole Kessinger was a criminal part of this tragedy, we must remember that 6:16 a.m. phone ping is not the only piece of evidence, even just from the discovery around the time of the murders, that is highly incriminating towards Nicole Kessinger. And at the very least, makes one ask, was somebody else, anybody else there with Chris Watts when this tragedy happened? Among those pieces of evidence that we can look to and we will cover in this video are the Vivint alerts, the home router's phone log for the Watts family at 2825 Saratoga Trail, and a mysterious vehicle that was captured on neighbor Nate's security camera footage right after the 111-minute phone call between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger ended. Regarding the Watts family's home router log of devices that connected to it, I'm just going to read through some interesting information, and we're going to give it a little more context when we talk about neighbor Nate's security camera footage in just a moment. So on Sunday, 8/12, the day before the murders, at 12:15 p.m., Chris' personal phone connects to the home router. It does not connect again until 9 o'clock and 45 seconds p.m., and many people say, well, this means Chris Watts didn't get home until 9 p.m., giving evidence in their minds that after he took Bella and Celeste to the birthday party at the Lindstrom's house, he went somewhere else and not just home, perhaps out to Survey 319 then. I'm not sure if I believe that is what it means because, quite honestly, I don't understand enough about when and why a device connects to a specific router. But again, we're going to get into more detail on that in just a moment. And then again, at 11:20 p.m., twice, 11:20 and 35 seconds, and then 36 seconds, Chris's personal phone connects to the home router. And this is just 2 minutes after the 111-minute phone conversation between he and Nicole Kessinger ends. We then see that Chris's personal phone connects to the home router at the following times: 1:11 a.m., 1:32 a.m., 1:35 a.m. Then Shanann's personal phone connects with the Watts family home router when she arrives home at 1:48 a.m. after Nicole Utoff drops her off at her house. Then, very interestingly, at 5:25 a.m., an unknown Apple device connects to their home router at 5:25 a.m. That's interesting, right? Now, some people have suggested that unknown device.
Okay, so guys, that unknown device, let me be clear here. Let me just go back a little to the visual because some people are visual. The unknown device that connects to the home router at 5-something a.m., we're going to look at it again here, is the morning of the murders, okay? When Shanann arrived home at 1:48 a.m., Chris Watts' truck started outside of his home, according to the geotab information from Anadarko, at 5:18 a.m., and his truck pulled out of the driveway and drove directly to Survey 319 at 5:46 a.m. So let's see again. What time did that unknown device log onto the home router? Let's see.
5:25 a.m.
Oh, hot damn. That's right in the middle of when Chris Watts' truck started and when Chris Watts' truck left for Survey 319. Do you guys have anything to say about that? Amy, Jen?
Well, let's play devil's advocate. Does Chris have an Apple Watch?
Okay, he doesn't. Oh, you know what? Actually, before I ask you that question, there's another piece of information. Yeah, she did. There's another piece of information I have to play here because I anticipate the question. I'm gonna come right back to that question. I forgot. Listen to this first.
An unknown Apple device connects to their home router at 5:25 a.m. That's interesting, right? Now, some people have suggested that unknown device might be Shanann's Apple Watch, but I don't think that's the case. First of all, because the authorities had the Apple Watch and would have known that's what it was. But we also have this, another instance of that unknown device connecting to the home router. So it's on Sunday, August 12th, the day before the murders. We have Chris Watts' work phone connecting to the home router at 9:26, 9:29, and again at 9:29. Then at 10:20 a.m., an unknown Apple device connects to the home router, and I believe it's the same device because it has the same MAC address. So on this day, Sunday, August 12th, in the morning, it should have only been Chris and the girls, Bella and Celeste, home by themselves. Nobody else was known to be in the house. So what is this unknown Apple device connecting to the Watts home router, and to whom does that device belong?
Okay, so that's the piece of it that I wanted to get to. So this unknown device connects to the Watts home router at 5:25 a.m. the morning of the murders, right between that sweet spot time, well, not sweet, but that time when Chris Watts starts his truck and then his truck leaves to go to Survey 319. That same device, after I put out this video, I verified with a tech expert that because it had the same numbers, it wasn't an IP number, I can't remember what it was, but they were identifying numbers. Yes, it was the same device this person told me, and he does all of my tech work. He's awesome. He's a star. Thank you, Chris. Not Chris Watts. Chris, my tech person, my tech professional. He said yes, it's the same device. So that same device that logged into the Watts home router at 5:25 a.m. the morning of the murders, right between the time when Chris Watts' truck started and left for Survey 319, it also connected to the Watts home router Sunday, the day before the murders at 10:20 a.m. Boom. What do you guys say about that?
She has an app. She has an iPhone. I mean, we know she has an iPhone. We sat and watched her play with it in the interview.
That's right. And she complained about she had to use a not iPhone phone. She doesn't know how to use it anymore. Yeah, she definitely had an iPhone, and it's in the Discovery too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm kind of surprised they put that in the Discovery, to be honest.
I am too.
However, there are people who are going to do the right thing.
That's right. And there are people who did do the right thing, like Michael Prill and Dave Baumhover.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it's not been brought up more, actually, this bit of information.
There was a comment. I don't know who did it. What was her name? I'm trying to scroll up. She asked maybe if Dave will talk. I think it was Sherry. And
after retirement.
Just so you guys know, I have reached out to Dave, and he has told me he doesn't want to talk about the case. However, I thought this was interesting. He spoke at his daughter's school about, what it's like to be a detective. And I really would have been interested to be a fly on the wall to know if he brought this case up. But my guess is he's uncomfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
So I don't think those secrets of whatever he knows are going to slip. And I genuinely, you can just tell on his face, he was affected by this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he stayed there the night when they found, they recovered Shanann's remains close to midnight that Wednesday night, and they knew where Bella and Celeste were at that point, but it was too dark. It was too late. It would have been too dangerous. They didn't have all the equipment and the men ready for the, the massive undertaking that was going to be required to recover those precious baby girls' remains out of those crude oil tanks. And he stayed there at Survey 319 by himself all through the night so the girls wouldn't be alone.
Oh my God. I just got chills when you said that.
I did too.
Me too.
Yeah. So, I mean, the post-traumatic stress he suffered is, And Tammy Lee talks about, we might watch a clip of it if we have time. Oh God. And I'm so sorry to say this. I really try to be so respectful as much as I can when I talk about this, but this is the reality of the horror of the situation. And I think it's something that does need to be understood and faced, if not for no other reason, to, impassion people to be on board to pursue complete justice for these victims. But, she talks about, seeing Bella's remains being removed from that crude oil tank, and you can just, she immediately, you can see in her eyes just like the flashback, and she just falls apart. And I can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine. I started to look into before, like what being in that kind of substance for that length of time would do to living.
Yeah.
And I can't go far enough to, I can't. It's horrific. It's what unimaginable nightmares are made of, and people actually witness this.
The one thing though I have to say about Tammy Lee though, I wish first off she would have questioned Kessinger versus males questioning Kessinger.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact now, I don't know if you've seen this, but do you know that she and Kovac, is it Kovac that I'm thinking of?
They're touring. Yeah, they've been touring for a while, talking about,
yeah. And they're like experts on this case. And I just, I don't know. I have feelings about that personally.
I thought you were going to say you wish she'd wore a different sweater that day, or maybe that's what she wishes.
Or like the Hamburglar, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to continue to play this, okay?
Yes.
Considering that unknown device connected to the Watts home router at 5:25 a.m. on the morning of the murders at 5:25 a.m. on August 13th, 2018, let's take a look at Chris Watts' movements early that morning. So we can see by looking at this time log provided from Anadarko of the geotab information on Chris Watts' work truck that he starts his truck at 5:18 a.m. at 2825 Saratoga Trail. We then know that Chris Watts takes several trips back and forth to the house, loading his work truck with something and doing God knows what. We know this because we see this happening on Nate's security camera footage that the whole world has seen. Now, we also know from this information provided from Anadarko that Chris Watts leaves 2825 Saratoga Trail at 5:46 a.m. He then drives to Survey 319, arriving there at 6:53 a.m. So it is right between the times when Chris Watts starts his work truck at 5:18 a.m. and when he leaves his house at 5:46 a.m. does this unknown Apple device connect to the Watts home router. That really gives you something to think about now, doesn't it? So next, there's some interesting information about the Vivint home security alert system. Now, the Watts had sensors on all their garage doors, the door from the garage to the mudroom, the basement door, the back sliding door, the front door, and there were not any sensors on the windows. And as far as motion sensors go, so anytime a door was open or closed with those sensors on them that I just mentioned, an alert would go off. Motion sensors were located in the right-hand corner of the living room area and in the basement. And there were entrance access via key code on a keypad for the garage door and the front door. Now, the way that the system works is the Vivint logs events and it alerts when all doors are open that have the sensors on them, as I mentioned. And it alerts if a door is not closed within a certain time frame that's been set on the control panel. And it logs all motion as an event. So when we look at the Vivint activity log for Monday, August 13th, we see at 1:48 a.m., Vivint logs Shanann opening the door. At 1:48 a.m., Vivint also logs motion happening in the living room. And it's not until 4:26 a.m. that Vivint logs the basement door opening. Inside, the garage door opens, and also there is motion in the living room. So from 1:48 a.m. to 4:26 a.m., there is no motion or doors opened logged in the Vivint security system alert system that Shanann and Chris receive on their phones. And obviously, Vivint can see when law enforcement requested that information. So the question is, if things happened even from
Okay,
another...
sorry. Whoa, I pushed that back. So, I mean, oops, let me unmute you guys. So what do you guys have any thoughts on that there was no motion in the home according to those Vivint sensors from, let's see, okay, so 1:48, the Vivint logs Shanann opening the door, and it logs her motion in the living room. And then until 4:26 a.m., there is no motion logged from the Vivint sensors on the first floor of the home. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Chris never said why he went into the basement at 4:26, did he?
Well, he was asked in the prison interview, and he's kind of like, I don't know. And he's like, and he goes, you know, I go down there to work out, but I didn't work out that morning. I know I didn't. And Tammy Lee's like, did you make your lunch and all that morning? He's like, yeah, I made my lunch. Motherfucker, you made your lunch? Like, seriously? Like, that always just really gets to me. But
he said he went down there to get the garbage bags.
Well, yeah. And then Dave Baumhover's like, you know, do you normally have a roll of garbage bags in the back of your work truck? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, there's one there that day. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, maybe I went downstairs to get the garbage bags.
Oh.
That's a conversation that happens.
Kelly, I just want to focus 1 second about the fact that, can you guys picture him in the kitchen making his lunch
exactly
after what he just did?
Oh my God.
Like a normal person. And I love what Nate said in the interview with the cops. He goes, he's telling you about, you know, what he's putting in his truck in and out. And he goes, the only thing I see him do is take his lunch out there every day. And that's it. And he feels the need to tell you everything he loaded into the truck.
Right.
But yes, the lunch thing, oh God, it just peeves me.
Yeah, every time he says it, he's like, she said, well, did you make your lunch and do all those things that day? He's like, oh yeah, I made my lunch. Every time I just want to punch him in the balls. I mean, it's like,
I always pictured him making the lunch before all of it happened for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I pictured him like doing what he was, like, getting ready and then deciding to do it. So I don't know why.
He also
so you guys think that he unalived her and then went down and made the lunch?
I do. And you know why? Because
do you think he like left her upstairs? Sorry, if this isn't what you want to get into, but do you think he left her upstairs and then went downstairs and did it? Or do you think he got them all downstairs and into the truck and then went and made his lunch? And that's changed his shoes because the show...
It doesn't matter. It's just that he killed his whole family, and he's worried about bringing his little lunch pail to work with him so he can dispose of his family's remains. I mean, it's like...
Well, I feel like it does matter because I've always wondered, like in the video, why is at one point he's wearing shoes and another point he's wearing boots, but then maybe he did do all that. Maybe he like took his whole family out to the truck and then went and made his lunch and got dressed and changed his shoes. I mean, I think that...
No, that's a good point. Or maybe he wasn't wearing, you know, shoes and then boots. Maybe he was wearing boots and someone else was wearing shoes.
Yeah.
And that maybe that person who was wearing the shoes is the same person who had an iPhone and Apple device that connected to the home router at 5:25 a.m. and also the day before, Sunday, the day before the murders at 10:20 a.m. Just maybe.
But
just
also
maybe.
You're forgetting also someone was wearing white tennis shoes during the police interviews.
That's right. Good
That's
call.
right.
I'm not even sure if I ever picked up on that. Good call. That's true. Yeah.
Also, he took the time to lock Dieter up. So I think that's why he did the lunch. I think he put the girls in the car. He went and made his stupid little lunch. Maybe it was pre-made. You know how some people meal prep? So I think he like put his stuff in his lunch pail, locked Dieter up, and then went in the car.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know if he would have left the girls sitting out in the truck with in
I don't
case
think
someone walked
I don't
by.
think he did
They
either.
were probably in the house with them, but yeah.
And also, when
Running
you know,
them.
I
Yeah.
personally do believe, you know, that the shadow theory or whatever, where you know we see people think, and I think this, you know, that Bella runs out to the car and Chris picks her up, and there's like shadow images that show this. That's very close to when he actually gets in the car and takes off. He doesn't go in the house by himself again after that, if that is what happens. And it is my theory. And if for those of you, I have a, you know, what happened in the basement is a video. If you haven't watched it yet, you know, definitely watch it if you're going to stay with this channel. It's sort of like the core of my theory of what happened regarding the most atrocious part of this whole thing, which is, you know, the murder. I do believe that he did do what he told Cheryl and Cato that he did, and tried to take the girl's life twice. The first time he
Yes.
was unsuccessful, and I do not think that Celeste ever came back from that incident. I think that she was still alive, but I think that she the oxygen was deprived to her brain
Yes.
for long enough where she was different. And so Bella,
I agree.
Bella, oh my God. I just really think that Bella was like in that whole
Yes.
here alone. Oh my God.
Yes.
It's so hard to
Yes.
think about.
It's horrible. And
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, he could have told her she's sleeping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I've never really thought. I just remember him saying, I was so angry that they woke up that I felt I could kill anything in my path. And that's exactly what a psychopath says.
Right. I was just thinking if the question of is he a sociopath or psychopath certainly has to be a sociopath with just what we know from my perspective. And those of you who don't know, I'm a behavioral analyst. Not that I could diagnose him, but I think certainly given what we know of this crime that was committed, you know, it checks off all the criteria. A little bit more psychopath. I don't know. That was like a little more nuanced. But I was just thinking as we were saying this, when you were saying that about him, when the girls woke back up, he was so angry. Like, if that doesn't define pathology, what does?
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing does.
Oh, I know. All right, I'm going to keep playing this video. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Door opens, and also there is motion in the living room. So from 1:48 a.m. to 4:26 a.m., there is no motion or doors opened logged in the Vivint security system alert system that Shanann and Chris receive on their phones. And obviously, Vivint can see when law enforcement requested that information. So the question is, if things happened even remotely like Chris Watts tells it, when exactly did he bring Shanann from the upstairs to the downstairs when he says that Bella was accompanying him and crying? When did the girls come from the upstairs to the downstairs? How did anything that we know happened in the house that day happen without the Vivint security home system detecting the motion that should have been detected as people were moving around within the house and opening and closing doors within the house and from inside the house to the outside? So now let's take a look at neighbor Nate's security camera footage. Actually, this is the perspective from Officer Coonrod's body cam video when he is over at Nate Trinistitch's house and Chris Watts is there. This is the day of the murders, August 13th, later in the day. When Chris has arrived home, Officer Coonrod has responded, and they're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Nate is showing Officer Coonrod this security camera footage, and he explains to Officer Coonrod that the security camera footage is motion triggered. So it is motion that starts the security camera to record. So that means whenever there is an image or some video recorded by Nate's security camera footage that was just shortly preceded by some kind of significant movement outside that caused the security camera to begin recording.
Is this on continually recording?
Yep. Well,
it's not. Is it motion or is it? Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happens, I get cars driving from this street, and this is him at 517.
While Nate is trying to find the security camera footage from the evening before and the early morning that day, he's flipping through some frames, and we can see this one frame that is labeled 11:25 p.m. that is just of headlights going by the Watts house, by Nate's security camera. So isn't that interesting? We can see here on this page from Discovery, these are the last hours of August 12, 2018, that Sunday night, that night of the 111-minute phone conversation, and that night where we see that image on Nate's security camera footage at 11:25 p.m. At 9:29, Shanann made an unanswered call to Chris Watts. Well, that call was unanswered, at least in part, because the 111-minute phone conversation went from 9:28 p.m. to 11:19 p.m. So interestingly, Shanann tried to call Chris Watts just 1 minute after he got on the phone with Nicole Kessinger. And then Shanann, during the phone call, also says, through a text, I tried to call you, giving you an update. And she's telling him that the plane is going to be significantly late. And then at 9:45, she sends a flight information. And it's not until Chris Watts gets off the phone call with Nicole Kessinger that ends at 11:19. At 11:21 p.m., 2 minutes later, Watts replies finally, "Holy crap, sorry, I pass out on the couch. That's going to be late." It is then 4 minutes later, after Chris Watts sends this text to Shanann, that we see this image from Nate's security camera footage of headlights at the Watts house. Whose headlights were those, and what was going on at the Watts house at that hour? Just 6 minutes after the 111-minute phone call ended.
What I've circled here in yellow is a screenshot of his security camera menu that is dated at 11:25 p.m. on Sunday, August 12th. And it shows headlights going by the Watts house. So that is most likely, based on what we know about how Nate's security camera works, what triggers it, and when it starts recording, we can safely deduct, I would say. Tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'd be happy to talk about it. Questioning things, you learn more about them. We think we can safely say it's that car going by that set off Nate's security camera. So there's a car going by at 11:25 p.m. So this is 6 minutes after his 111-minute phone call with
Nicole Kessinger ends. It is 4 minutes after he finally responds, after a couple hours, to Shanann saying, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be really late," lying, saying, "I fell asleep on the couch." And it's just really curious timing. We can see from the menu selection that Nate goes through the purview of Officer Coonrod's body cam footage, that the next event on his security camera footage menu is when Chris Watts starts to go out to his truck at 5:17 a.m. Now, I would just like to reiterate that it seems that as we look at the official Discovery timeline of events that happened in the investigation towards the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts, that Nicole Kessinger is being protected. Well, we do know that she's being protected because right away, on the first day of the investigation, the FBI has declared she is a protected witness. See, again, that is right here on FBI documentation. As I have noted before, Nicole Kessinger appears throughout the entire official Discovery timeline, all throughout it. In fact, the very first event on the official Discovery timeline is Nicole Kessinger texting the name Shanann Watts on September 1st, 2017, which is 9 months before Chris and Shanann claim to have met. Then all of a sudden, from Saturday evening the evening of August 11th, until very late in the day, the evening of Monday, August 13th, many hours after the murders have occurred. For close to 48 hours, Nicole Kessinger is conspicuously missing. Any mentioning of her is conspicuously missing from the official discovery timeline. Even though during that time, there's a lot that happens with her, including the 111-minute phone conversation on Sunday evening and her 6:16 a.m. ping outside the Watts house on the morning of the murders.
Wow. So, Amy, thoughts on that? Oh, I don't know. Can you guys hear me? I know Kelly has to reboot her computer.
Oh, okay. I can't. I could barely hear you. I'm
I
sorry.
texted you.
So I'm back anyway. I'm
okay.
back.
I was gonna say, she's rebooting her computer, so we were gonna kind of just check in with chat and see what they thought.
Yeah, well, what do you guys think? What does chat think about all that information?
I didn't know that she was scrubbed at the end there. So that's really new, interesting information. It's just amazing to me how she's being protected. And I don't understand. I mean, I do understand it because I think the oil company, like the oil industry is a small industry and it probably has something to do with that, but it just sucks.
Sometimes I also think investigators screw up. And like we're talking about the John Bonet case, that got botched like no other. And let's be honest, if we're looking at this, they entered the Watts home thinking we're dealing with a missing persons case. That evidence, if Nicole was there, is screwed because neighbors were walking in the house. Canine, I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing with the Bonet case. The scene was not contained to where we needed to look at this more than a missing persons case. I know at that time we thought it was a missing persons case, but there almost needs to be an awareness, I think, especially in Colorado.
Seriously.
That
and Florida.
Yeah. Oh, crazy Florida. You kind of screwed up. And I feel sometimes you have to save your butt. And then also they needed information and they were desperate for it. And the only person who could give them information was her. I think they thought they were. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I just feel like there are so many missing people's cases that probably as a police officer, my stepdad was a police officer growing up. So, there's so many missing persons cases that turn up where they're resolved so quickly. It's very rare that it goes missing like that. So like to make it a crime scene right away, I don't know if it seems reasonable.
I feel it would be because of the way Nicole acted, that things should have been taken a little more seriously. I'm not trying to bash law enforcement in any way. I think they did the best they could. But I think when we started investigating, there are things that may have been hidden and covered up.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely things that are hidden and covered up for the sake of law enforcement saving their butt. And I'm sorry that I can't tell you any more about that. By the time the summer's over, you'll have all the information. But, on the outset, but that didn't happen until they started the investigation.
Oh, is that coming out in the book?
It is, yeah. It'll be out in the book. Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be coming out in the book. Yep. Kathleen and I have shared pooled our resources and sources because we're both always, trying to figure out what the frick happened in this case. Like, if Nicole Kessinger was not involved, and hey, listen, you guys all, if you've been watching this channel, you know how I feel about Nicole Kessinger's status of being a free citizen right now, or at least being one that wasn't charged and had her day in court, right? But, if something came out that definitively said, you know what, she just was not involved, maybe she was a, selfish, narcissistic bitch who had no compassion for Shanann and was really stuck up her own ass and, was obsessed with this loser guy, Chris Watts, what's his name? Something like that. All these like bad characteristics, but she didn't do anything criminal. I would have to say, okay, well, mea culpa, here's the evidence. I always go with the evidence, but the circumstantial information, the facts, and now the evidence, all indicates that just the fact, that she says herself, and so I removed it, that she deleted all, of their texts and anything communication about Chris Watts from her phone, that is, could be obstruction of justice. It is certainly,
it
is
is,
certainly
Kelly.
obstruction of
You don't
evidence,
even have to say it.
which is a felony charge in Colorado.
Yeah. I have a question for the two of you. Put yourself in her shoes.
No.
If it were me, I would be putting my shit out there in the media, doing interviews, and I would hire someone. I know it's not admissible in court, but I would hire several people to give me lie detector tests.
Absolutely.
To prove to the public I had nothing to do with it, so people would leave me alone. That's just me. What about you two?
Well, somebody said she might have gotten some kind of deal where the only way she won't be asked anything is if she doesn't do any type of media. Like I forget what it was called. I'm sorry, I'm getting tired and I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's some type of immunity, and I reported on it, and I can't remember the name of it, but they talked about it might be that if she talks, then they will be able to reopen it and start talking to her about it or something like that. So I don't know if it's true or not, but that's a possible. And that
would seem to me like law enforcement abusing their power, using like the strong arm of justice to hold somebody in a corner when, their life and their reputation, and therefore the quality of their life, their potential for employment and relationships and all this stuff suffers, like that. But, I would definitely.
Yeah, saying that, I don't think that they would do that either because, I don't think I don't know. If anything, I think it's more she has some type of power somewhere and someone's helping her out, because I don't think she would agree to something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I just remembered she did one interview. Okay, so I take that back, you guys.
Oh, that's right. She did do
the
one.
Denver Post interview, so I will give her that. But I don't feel like, I guess I would need to go back and read that interview, but I don't remember it being too detailed about I'm not involved or anything like that.
It's not. She just makes the case that she didn't know. She thought that Chris was leaving his wife from when they got together, that she didn't know that Shanann was pregnant, and like basically that's it. Which is going to lead us into our next piece of media. Are you guys ready for that, or do you want to chat more into this?
Do it.
Yeah, I do have one question, Kelly. Do you remember when it came out with? Because I was kind of sick during that time, and so I don't remember when it came out. What was the response? Like, I know the response to her now was horrible, but when that came out, was it as horrible as it is now?
No, it wasn't. But then for people, I think that were paying attention to the case, her interview came out just before the discovery did, but then the discovery comes out and we see things that are contrary to what she said in that interview, such as, her Google search for Shanann Watts on September 1st, 2017. She actually searched the name Chris Watts a month before, August 7th of 2017, which is a full 7 and 10 months respectively before Chris and Shanann, Shanann, Chris and Nicole say they were ever even dating or had ever even really met. And so, and then Amanda Purcell, who is the supervisor of evidence in Weld County, had said when questioned by the news that, oh, that was a typographic error. That wasn't really, that search didn't really happen. And then District Attorney Rourke had to come out and say, he said it on Crime Talk, the one with Nancy Grace. Yeah, I think it's Crime Talk. That no, actually, that the report that Nicole Kessinger searched for Shanann Watts on September 1st, 2017, and Chris Watson, August 2017, was a result of our investigative findings. It was not a typographic error. And then, when asked, why did she do that? He said, listen, I don't know. We didn't get to the point in the investigation where we had to look into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Conveniently.
And I'll say this too, just from my background working in news, it sometimes takes a hot minute to get that police footage out, because once it's out, the shitstorm begins. So it may have they may have even made an agreement with her that she does her Denver Post interview before they release to the media all of the interview videos, all of the body cam videos, and all of that, so that then she could go to her safe place.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Something that I recently myself found, I made a video on it's like the missing text. So these are, if you want to see these videos, just put in your YouTube search, Watts the Obsession, missing text. I'm giving you like the
You have a
keywords so you can
Watts
find
playlist, right?
Yeah. What's that?
You have a Watts playlist, right? Like
I have like 600 Watts videos.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So
He has everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the encyclopedia of the Watts case. So, and it's what they are the text messages between Nicole Kessinger and Dave Baumhover. There's like, I think 41 pages of them. So what I did in this video was I, showed you those texts and read them out, but then I inserted the actual interviews that Nicole did with law enforcement in the appropriate time between those texts, so you could get a chronology of when the text happened related to the interview material and what was said in that, if that makes any sense. And when I just did a live stream going over that video that I had put out like a year before, people kept asking about it. So I said, all right, let's do a live stream. And during the live stream, I was like, oh my God, stop the press. Do you guys see that? And what it says is, Kobach says to her, something in fact, we have to talk about your name change and the witness protection situation. He says that to her. I had never seen that before. So that was kind of shocking.
I'm trying to go through your playlist now so I can find the link for people.
There's so many different playlists. I have a bunch of different ones.
I gotta find it though so that people can watch it, and I'll drop it in the chat.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. I'm going to bring that other video in. So everybody get right now. This video, I just want to say, when I put it out, it was, the context of it was the reality of the investigation and Nicole Kessinger's potential culpability and the evidence against her versus what Dr. Phil said in that, what I put out, and I called it, the deleted episode. And I see lots of people put it out called the deleted episode, because it was Dr. Phil's video. So it got like 2 million views on my channel. Don't worry. Dr. Phil didn't let me monetize it. But then a lot of people were like, ooh, stars in their eyes. So the deleted episode where he talks about believing Nicole Kessinger is guilty and that the family, Shanann's family, thinks so too. So this video is in the context of that. And there's a couple points where the audio drops out. And that is because Dr. Phil simply would not allow me to use that audio. It was restricting my video. So when I'm playing that, I just want you guys to understand that. Okay.
Okay.
Can you imagine 2 million? What you would have gotten with 2 million?
It was monetized. It was monetized for some of the time it was up there, and I was kind of stupid. Like, never again will I see those I see those dollar bills raining, like, but then they caught on. But I wasn't, I was just, I was like, oh my God, I had realized all of a sudden that, because I listened to the podcast when it first came out, I went to listen to it again because it was super interesting, and I realized it wasn't there. It wasn't there in Apple Music. I looked in everything. It wasn't there. It eventually came back, and just like the Survivor's Guide to True Crime and the prosecutorial whatever the Michael Rourke interview, it's like it kind of like came and went. It was really strange. So I'm not sure what the deal was.
You know what the moral of the story is? Always record, you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I that's what I got I have a permanent copy of the prosecutorial trauma, because as soon as I heard about that, I was like, oh, they are going to take that down. I'm going to memorialize this forever.
I saved the discovery because it's getting dwindled down to like 1,000 pages now.
Oh, no. It's supposed to be 1960. That's a little crazy.
The link, I just found your video, the one you were talking about.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's the missing text, the text messages between Nicole Kessinger and Kobach. It's super interesting, super inappropriate. Definitely check it out. All right, I'm gonna bring this up.
She provided us all the information.
Let's see, is this the right one? Yes, it is, but I want to get to the right spot. Let's see here. Well, you know what? I'm just going to start here. And again, remember, there's points where the audio drops out, so I might pause it and move forward a little bit. And I do apologize for that. Blame Dr. Phil's enterprise and his too much money. I mean, that's what that's all about.
Yeah.
Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement. She provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop. Leave me alone.
I love playing that clip. Let's listen to it.
We know where she's at. You don't need to tell us.
All right.
Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement. She provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop. Leave me alone.
That the family made the choice, whether you believe it's the correct one or not, to not pursue. If it were me, I don't know how that would sit with me, knowing that she didn't know the full story.
And that might very well have changed the position she took, what she advocated for at the time.
All I can tell you is what I might do. It would definitely have changed the calculus for me.
A couple years ago, I posted an episode of Dr. Phil's podcast, The Devil Beside Me, which is the Chris Watts and Shanann Watts story, the Watts family murders story. And when I posted this episode, I called it something like the hidden episode, the missing episode, the deleted episode. And almost a year, but I couldn't be sure about that. Episode 3 reappeared in his podcast series. Now, no one can know why this episode was pulled temporarily from Dr. Phil's menu of podcast selections.
Chris and Shanann Watts, well, it wasn't over. In fact, it was just starting to unfold. And I have a sneaking suspicion that made some people really nervous.
If you listen to the entire episode, which appears on my channel, and I included a link in the description box, it becomes pretty clear, to me at least, and I'd like to know what you think, that it is very possible the reason that episode was deleted was because Dr. Phil implicates Nicole Kessinger as being a possible accomplice in the horrible crime that Chris Watts committed, or at least he implicates her as having something to do with it. But there's even more to it than that. Now, I should mention that the timing of the recording of episode 3 of The Devil Beside Me is very important. This episode was recorded between the time Chris Watts was sentenced in November of 2018 and the time when Chris Watts gave his infamous jailhouse interview in February of 2019. That's just a few months span, and the episode was recorded during that time, and it was produced and published right around the time of Chris Watts' jailhouse recording. Now, that's very important because at the time that Dr. Phil
remained, did Chris's mistress, Nicole, know more about his marital situation than she had let on? Did she have any idea that Chris would soon end the lives of the people who loved him the most?
Dr. Phil is asking questions that are all but forbidden to ask by anybody who is close to law enforcement or says that they have an inside scoop on the case. Now, remember the timing of the recording of episode 3.
Now, Chris and Nicole met at work, and sparks flew. They soon began an affair, but according to Nicole, she was not aware that this was an affair, or that she was the mistress, that she was the other woman. She says she thought she was dating a guy who was in the midst of a mostly amicable divorce.
Dr. Phil goes on to talk about anybody who has a brain would be looking up information about the person that they were about to start dating. After all, the internet is a thing, and information about just about anyone is readily available. And as many of you know, Nicole Kessinger was a prolific internet searcher. In fact, she searched Chris Watts' name and Shanann Watts' names 9 or 10 months before she and Chris Watts claimed that they started dating or that they even met. While some people believe that those internet searches aren't real because some representative of the district attorney's office told somebody who inquired that those dates were a typo, District Attorney Rourke later confirmed that those internet searches that appeared in the discovery were in fact a result of the investigators' research. They were legitimate. I made a video about that too. You can find it in the Nicole Kessinger playlist or on its own. The link for that video again is in the description box. There are many other interesting facts regarding what Shanann posted on social media and what was going on with Chris and Nicole Kessinger. This includes the fact that Shanann Watts started posting about her pregnancy June 9th, 2017. She posted about her pregnancy on June 10th, 11th, and 12th. The first email communication between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger happens on when? June 12th.
Okay, so I just want to highlight that's a really important point there. So again, I'm going to say it again in the video here. So I don't want to repeat myself and then repeat myself in the video. So just listen really carefully because this is very important.
Okay. Again, Shanann posted about her pregnancy for the first time on June 9th. And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger is on June 12th, 2018. In fact, on June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2018, on each of those days, there was a video posted to Facebook about Shanann's pregnancy. She was very excited. The video that shows Shanann telling Chris Watts about the pregnancy was posted on June 11th, 2018.
We did it I like that shirt.
Just the chest.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
Guess what, girls? Guess what? Cece? There's a baby in mommy's belly.
Mommy, your buddy.
It's in mommy's belly, you silly.
She's in my belly.
We go for our first ultrasound at 3-ish, 3:15. Hey, Bella, how many babies do I have in my belly?
5.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's a lot of babies.
It certainly is a coincidence that the first time Shanann posted about her pregnancy was on June 9th. Then again on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And the first communication between Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger is on June 12th. In its discovery, the supervisor Anadarko that reported these emails said that these were the only email exchanges he could find between Kessinger and Chris Watts. So on the 12th, Nicole Kessinger kind of nudges Chris Watts through email by addressing his entire team with this email. Kessinger says, "Gentlemen, I spoke with my gas monitor vendor regarding your app access. Our account has been reset. Please continue to use the same credentials you were provided upon receiving your unit. Let me know if you continue to have issues or require anything further. Best regards, Nikki Kessinger." There are a total of 6 emails between Kessinger and Watts, and it is only on this day did the supervisor Anadarko find any email exchanges between the two. Nicole Kessinger says, "Chris, thank you for being honest with me this morning. Truthfulness is so underrated in our culture. Saludos cordiales, Nikki." You have to wonder what she's referring to. What was he being truthful about on June 12th, 2018. Let's go back to Dr. Phil to hear the final thing I want to focus on in this video from that season 3 episode of The Devil Beside Me.
Once news of Shanann's disappearance spread, Nicole had gone to police of her own free will to speak to them about her involvement with Chris. But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannann's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris? And when it all started coming unraveled, when it all started hitting the wall, she got scared and bailed. Was she actually helping him and got cold feet and decided, save yourself, girl?
Well, listen to that one again.
But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannann's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris?
So now we need to back up a little. Let's go back to November 19th, 2018. That was the date of Chris Watts' sentencing. This is District Attorney Rourke, the prosecutor for the charges against Chris Watts, speaking at the sentencing.
The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera, backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times. 1 time for each of their bodies.
Now, here's the problem with what District Attorney Rourke says. He says that Chris took, and I'm so sorry that I have to even speak about this. I'm trying to be as respectful as possible. It's just horrible imagery. But he took the bodies of each of his family members, his pregnant wife, Bella and Celeste, from the house where he took their lives to his truck. District Attorney Rourke even goes on to offer details. You can see, he says, from Nate's security camera footage, that's the next door neighbor, Chris makes 3 trips back and forth, 1 time for each body. Well, I can't tell you how many times I've watched the security camera footage, and I assure you he makes more than 3 trips. So that's just fabricated. But what's more than that is that District Attorney Rourke was wrong about the facts. He was wrong about what happened in the crime. Because you see, he did take Shanann's life at the house, and people have different opinions on this. This case is very controversial, but this is what I strongly believe based on the evidence. He took a very alive and aware Bella in the truck, sitting over her mother's body, and the state that Cece was in is highly debatable. If you want to know about that, please watch my video about what happened in the Watts basement. Again, the link is in the description box. But he did not end the girls' lives in the house. Now, how do we know this? We do not know this because of any evidence that was actually analyzed above and beyond Chris Watts' so-called confession, and I'm going to get back to that. Take a listen to part of Chris Watts' first so-called confession. This is where he blamed Shanann for taking the lives of Bella and Celeste, and then he said he did the same to her in a rage.
So we just started talking about, I asked him if there's any chance that the nanny cam could have recorded doing what she did. And then we were just getting into, what Chris thinks about why she snapped.
Mm-hmm. I know the audio is hard for some of you to hear. The interviewer, Graham Coder, is saying, oh, we're just talking about, if the nanny cam could have seen anything that happened and why Shanann snapped. So Chris is going to go on to talk about how the nanny cam caught everything going down, supposedly.
He's just distressed from knowing about the other girl.
Knowing that she didn't really know, right? I mean,
in her heart, she knew. She just wanted me to admit it. I just looked in the monitor and it was on Bella. And where is the monitor? Where's the screen that you look at? Is it up or downstairs? It's upstairs. Oh, okay, so you go upstairs, look at the monitor. Everything happens on the bed. Oh, your master bedroom. Okay, all right. And then it cycled over. So like a 3, 4, 5 second like interval between when it cycles from room to room. And it cycled over to Susie's room. That's when I saw her on top of her. That's when I ran in. Okay. We don't want anything to be incorrect or inaccurate or anything like that. Was your wife on top of Cece? What did that look like? I mean, was she straddling her? Okay. And where were they? On the bed. And so your wife was on top. Was she doing this? That's when I was walking up from the back. Okay. And she was off from the back? Yeah. Okay. But she was doing this. It looked like it was like this. Yeah. Okay. And then was Cece face up, face down, what? Off to the side. Oh, she was laying on her side. Okay. And that's when I pulled her off. Okay. She was limp and she was blue. Okay. There was no movement at all. No. She was limp and blue, or limping and blue? Limp and blue. Okay. It's like her body was like, right. You pick her arm up and it just falls. Okay. And then what happened? I looked at her and I got on top of her and you got on top of Shanann? Did the same thing. Okay. Did you have to knock her down? No. She was already on the ground? I just pulled her off on the bed. Oh, kind of one move. Yeah. Okay. So it's not as though I didn't pull her off. No. Like I went up, pulled her down. Okay. I didn't know. I lost it.
Okay, so we can hear that it is clearly a horrible story that he is telling about what Shanann supposedly did. And I want you to note that the investigators are leading him all the way. They led him into this story. They're leading him into the details, including the camera, including the position, and so many other things. I mean, this is an absolute horrible story. He looks at the nanny cam. He sees Bella. Her blanket's off her. She's sprawled out on her bed. He is implying that she is deceased. And then he sees the nanny cam that goes to Cece's room, and Shanann is on top of her. And by the time he gets up there and pulls Shanann off of Cece, she is blue and limp. Horrible, horrible story. Makes Shanann look horrible. God rest her soul. We listen to Chris Watts' final confession. I think it is important to note that after this interrogation and the arrest of Chris Watts, which happened on August 15th, 2018. He, of course, was being held in custody, and he did not talk to anybody regarding any details that happened this horrible night or in the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018. Eventually, on November 6th, 2018, and please keep that date in your mind, it's critical, Chris Watts struck a plea deal with...
All right, guys, this is also really, really, really important. The information about the plea deal, the timing, and Michael Pearl's findings is noted in the discovery. Please listen carefully.
The district attorney. Something to note that's important here, which I talked about in my Bombshell Part 1 and Part 2 series, again, links in the description box, is that District Attorney Rourke accepted Chris Watts' plea deal without any conditions, without requiring him to give any details of the crime and how it happened. This is important for several reasons. First of all, to avoid any issues on appeal, so a defense attorney connects with Chris, later comes back and say there was some issue, and all of a sudden, it's not a plea deal that's putting him in prison for the rest of his life, where I believe he belongs. And also because it is only when the investigator and the district attorney know the details, can they complete the investigation in a way that corroborates the details of the confession, because as we all know, false confessions are prevalent. But that never happened. District Attorney Rourke did not hold Chris's feet to the fire. He did not require him to plea under any conditions. He just took the plea deal. On November 6, 2018. So we heard what he said in the sentence hearing on November 19th. So now let's fast forward in time a little bit to 2019, the early months of 2019. It's now February 18th, 2019, almost 3 months to the day of the sentencing hearing. As you might know, Tammy Lee, Graham Coder here, and also Dave Baumhover of the Frederick Police Department go to visit Chris Watts at Dodge Correctional Facility. And here is a very short excerpt, but a very important excerpt of their interview with him. This excerpt picks up at the point where they are talking about what Chris apparently did to Shanann in the house, saying Bella walked into the bedroom and then he took Shanann outside to the truck.
Back my truck up. At that point, were the girls still there? Okay. So then Shanann's in the truck. Then went back to the house. We got everybody out in the truck. Was Bella first or was Cece first? In the truck? Yeah, I'm sorry. So Shanann was first. And then Bella was next. Was Bella alive when you guys got in the truck? Oh, okay. What happened? I woke back up. Okay.
I don't really want to talk about this party, honestly.
Okay.
Those are my kids. It's my baby. I'm just talking about every night. I don't see them.
Okay.
Every time I see pictures of them, I don't know how it's here. And being a dad was the best part of my life. I took it all away.
I think that's the hardest part for us, Chris, is we see those videos, we see that love that you had for your girls, like.
Now you can hear the surprise in Graham Coder's voice. You know, he's saying, okay, so he put Shanann in the truck, and then was Bella first? So the girls were there, and then, he kind of pauses. Was Bella alive? Because, until this point, they had thought that what happened was something like District Attorney Rourke's version of the events, which he scripted himself. That all of the lives were taken in the house and then transported to Survey 319 in Chris Watts' work truck in that state. Now, the really troublesome thing is, and I've talked about this before, and again, I've made a whole video about this, and it's in the description box if you want to watch it in length. The sad part about this is District Attorney Rourke did not need to fabricate a story. And this gets so much deeper, I promise. Just stay with me. Investigators in the DA's office had everything that they needed to have an understanding of who was in the work truck, if they were alive or deceased, and if there may have been somebody else in the work truck that morning. To this day, we don't know the answer to any of those questions. As investigators collected trace lifts from the back seat of Chris Watts' work truck, the center console, the steering wheel, and the driver's side cover, and on September 4th, 2018. Well, just take a listen to this directly from the discovery. It should be noted that on September 4th, 2018, while running through the evidence submission list with lab tech Patricia Lopez, several items were listed that CBI lab.
Again, this is so super important.
Ultimately did not wish to take possession of at that time. Those items are crossed out on the evidence submission form, which has been added to the case file. The refused items are as follows. I'm going to read the last three items. Driver's side seat cover from work truck. Trace lift from center console of Chris Watts' work truck. And trace lift from back seat driver side of Chris Watts' work truck. The items that were not taken by CBI are transported back to the Frederick Police Department and checked into evidence. Nothing further. So important, right? This tragedy happened on August 13th. September 4th, such a short time after, Chris Watts hadn't said moo about what happened. He certainly had not given a real confession, and he did not tell any details to anyone. And again, District Attorney Rourke did not force him to, so to speak, by putting conditions on his plea. On September 4th, the Colorado Bureau of Investigations refused to analyze that evidence that was collected in Chris Watts' work truck, which is absolutely shocking. And I know some of you have heard me talk about this before, so I will leave it at that for now.
So that is, how Tammy Lee infamously said, Chris Watts' plea deal stopped the truck. Bullshit. His plea agreement happened on November 6th, 2018, and his offline is indicating the timing of the plea deal, and the detective's memo is crazy. I think we're just getting up to that, right? Yeah, absolutely. But no. The clock didn't stop on November 6th. CBI refused to analyze the evidence that was already collected in Chris Watts' work truck on September 4th. The investigation stopped on that day, if not sooner, because analyzing that evidence would tell us if anybody else was in that vehicle when Chris went from Saratoga Trail to Survey 319, and who of his family may have been in that vehicle in the back seat, as he said, and if they were alive or deceased. It would have given definitive answers to the questions that are still unanswered and to the questions that were unanswered at that time, and which caused District Attorney Rourke to lie to the victim's family. And upon that lie, they based their decision to forego the trial, to take the death penalty off the table. In my opinion, that's unforgivable.
It is disgraceful, egregious, and shocking. And the family or law enforcement or, have any position of power or assists.
So many questions remain. Did Chris's mistress, Nicole, know more about his marital situation than she had let on? Did she have any idea that Chris would soon end the lives of the people who loved him the most?
And although at some point that questioning Nicole Kessinger's involvement, became reserved for conspiracists, but at some time before that all changed, a lot of people were asking those big questions, including Shanann's family, according to Dr. Phil. I do just want to add here that I say this all very respectfully. This channel has a lot of love, compassion, and care for Shanann's family, but we are just trying to bring out the facts of this case because I believe that complete justice for Shanann, baby Nico, Bella, and Celeste has not yet been reached.
Now, Chris and Nicole met at work, and sparks flew. They soon began an affair, but according to Nicole, she was not aware that this was an affair, or that she was the mistress, that she was the other woman. She says she thought she was dating a guy who was in the midst of a mostly amicable divorce.
Now, we know that Nicole Kessinger knew that she was the mistress for a number of reasons. I'm just going to point out two. One was at a time that was close to the time of this tragedy, and one was in the very beginning of their relationship. So on August 8th, the day after the Watts family returned home in Colorado from their trip in North Carolina, a lot of things happened. The ultrasound was that evening. Shanann was very upset because Chris had told her that he didn't want to have the baby, but he did agree to go to the ultrasound. That was at 7 p.m. Chris Watts on that day deleted his Facebook account. On that day, Nikki Kessinger gave Chris a key to her apartment. According to the Geotab location information, we also know that Chris Watts went to Nicole Kessinger's apartment right after work, and he stayed there right up until the time when he had to leave to go to the ultrasound with Shanann. What else happened on August 8th? Nicole Kessinger, well, let me read what it says in the discovery here. At 7:25 p.m., that's shortly after Chris Watts left Kessinger's house, Kessinger searched Google on topics related to marrying your mistress. Well, there you go. She knows she's the mistress. There's no question about it. That is on August 8th, just 5 days before the annihilation of Chris Watts' family. Now, let's tie this all together here. Remember that day, June 12, 2018, the one day where emails between Watts and Kessinger were found, the day right after those consecutive days when Shanann posted on Facebook about her pregnancy. Nicole Kessinger writes to Chris, "Agreed. It's always nice to find people you can relate to. I enjoy talking to you as well. I feel understood. I am looking for someone to build a beautiful life with. Seems so simple, yet so unrealistic sometimes. Build something similar to what you have done with your wife and those cute little girls. I do believe in karma, so out of respect for myself, you and your family, I think it is best if we keep that friendship at work. By the way, I will keep the conversations we have between us. Best regards, Nikki Kessinger." Well, 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 well. She's looking to build something with someone to have a beautiful life like he has with his wife Shanann and his beautiful little girls. Doesn't sound like a woman who believes that Chris Watts is separated and is on his way to divorce. Lies, lies, lies. And Dr. Phil knows.
Once news of Shannon's disappearance spread, Nicole had gone to police of her own free will to speak to them about her involvement with Chris. But was she a hero in this story? Or is it possible, like Shannon's parents believe to this day, that she tried to help Chris? And when it all started coming unraveled, when it all started hitting the wall, she got scared and bailed. Was she actually helping him and got cold feet and decided, save yourself, girl?
Very interesting, right? Now remember, that was from Dr. Phil's podcast, episode 3 of The Devil Beside Me, that was recorded and produced before Chris Watts' February 2019 jailhouse interview. So we have an idea of what people's beliefs were before his jailhouse interview and, what was acceptable. Dr. Phil was maybe even encouraged to say this. He certainly was allowed, but at some point he wasn't, because again, this was the deleted episode. Now, let's take a listen to Dr. Phil interviewing Shanann's family's attorneys, and they discuss what was revealed during Chris Watts' jailhouse interview and the impact that had on everything. It shook the earth. In this Dr. Phil episode, we're about to explore a little bit. It was recorded right after Chris Watts' final confession to the 3 investigators when they went out to speak with him in Dodge Correctional Facility after he had already been charged, sentenced, and was no doubt spending the rest of his life in prison. Dr. Phil, in this clip, talks to Shanann's family's attorneys. He brings up the topic saying, "We know that the other person in the investigation that was questioned was the mistress. Did anything actually come of that investigation?" In talking to the mistress. We will then hear what the attorneys had to say. And guys, it is very interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but wow, wait until you hear this now.
Chris Watts is sharing new details about the night he killed them. An attorney for Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandy Rusick, told our Dylan Thomas his clients were briefed on the new information and were evaluating their next steps.
You need to pay attention to the fact that they say here that the family was evaluating their next steps. Dr. Phil asked the attorneys why investigators went to talk to Chris Watts in February of 2019.
As we expressed, it's our guess that there was another person they were looking into or investigating that would have required enough time to either determine if charges should be brought or if that was not an avenue to be explored. And we're unsure at this point if that's ongoing investigation or not, so we don't want to go too far down that road.
The Rusicks family attorneys offer an explanation of why the Rusicks may simply not care if law enforcement goes after someone else that may have been involved. I mean, think of Chris Watts' initial confession. He blamed Shanann for these atrocities. He blamed Shanann. And we heard earlier in this video just how horrible the story that came out from him initially was. It was absolutely horrible, heartbreaking. Shanann's family knew in their hearts there was no way that was true. And I'm sure it just added to the immense, insurmountable pain in their hearts, their minds, and their souls to know that that story was out there. And people might think that. They might think that of them. They might think that of Shanann. The Rusicks family's main concern was to clear Shanann's name, and rightfully so. They probably felt after that happened, they could move on. The result of that interview in February 2019 from Dodge Correctional Facility is that Shanann's name was, in fact, cleared. The family attorneys say that with this confession, they hope that it can be known by all that Chris Watts did not walk in to find his daughter's lives being taken by the hands of Shanann. The attorney goes on to say, and man, I can totally understand this, and I so much feel for Sandy Rusick and the Rusick family, that the way the information is coming out now, rather than in a prolonged way, as it would in a trial when they had time to emotionally prepare for what they were going to hear, there's information coming out every 2 to 3 weeks. And it's making Sandy feel kind of angry. And my gosh, who could blame the woman? It's torture. The attorney then goes on to explain how the Rusicks went about making the decision that they did regarding the outcome they'd feel okay with there being a trial or not being a trial, accepting Chris Watts' plea or not, and having death penalty on the table or not. And remember, the information that they were given from District Attorney Rourke upon which they made that decision was information that District Attorney Rourke himself was not even certain of, because they never analyzed the evidence that was found in the investigation. So the story that they based that decision on was that pregnant Shanann, Bella, and Celeste's lives all ended in the home. And then Chris Watts loaded each of them into the truck deceased, drove them to Survey 319, where he disposed of their bodies. But that is not what really happened.
Personally, that the family made the choice, whether you believe it's the correct one or not, to not pursue the death penalty. If it were me, I don't know how that would sit with me, knowing that she didn't know the full story.
And that might very well have changed the position she took, what she advocated for at the time.
All I can tell you is what I might do. It would definitely have changed
Well,
the
isn't that
calculus for
some
me.
egg in District Attorney Rourke's face? District Attorney Rourke relayed information to Shanann Watts' family based on an incomplete investigation, an investigation that he knew was incomplete, an investigation where evidence that was collected was not even analyzed. And based on that information, he asked Shanann Watts' family to make probably the biggest decision of their life so far. He stayed in their home for 3 days after he found out some information that I talked about in the part 1 of this series that Michael Prill indicated in his report in the discovery before the timeline, that not all of the material was found in Chris Watts' phone. In fact, he came across items from the secret calculator app, as he says, just as a result of curiosity. He says that the forensic lab didn't have whatever was needed to access those inner storage vaults of an iPhone. And now that he knows that there was a secret calculator app, that there are places within that phone that might exist content that is relevant to the investigation, His plan was, as he outlined in the discovery report, to obtain another search warrant that would soon be executed, and the investigation would continue on. The report was dated October 30th, 2018. Straight away, District Attorney Rourke and Steve Wren got on a plane to go to North Carolina to spend 3 days with the Rusick family. Upon their return on November 6, 2018, they struck a plea deal with Chris Watts. It is my opinion, and I think the facts that I've been laying out to you or that you may have already known on your own indicate that District Attorney Rourke does not want anyone looking any further into this case. He did not want anyone looking any further into those phones. There are details there that he, for some reason, does not want uncovered.
Stop asking about it. She didn't have anything to do with it. She wasn't there that morning. She voluntarily cooperated with law enforcement. She provided us all the information. I'm not going to tell you where she's at. Stop. Leave me alone.
Could it be that District Attorney Rourke and the politics are the reason that episode 3 of The Devil Beside Me of Dr. Phil's podcast, someone as powerful as Dr. Phil, could it be that District Attorney Rourke is the reason that episode was deleted for some time? Was he trying to remove the words that Dr. Phil said from the history books? Please leave a comment and let us know what you think.
All right, can we do an applause here?
Nico,
Whoopsie.
Bella, and Celeste.
Sorry, guys. Anytime I play a video, that seems to happen. So, okay, let me unmute you guys. And yeah, okay. So let's all get back together now. And I'm so sorry I didn't stop that at points during the video. Like every time I was thinking to stop it or something, it was at a point that was like kind of really somber, and you know what I mean? Or it had to flow into the next part. So sorry that was such a big chunk without having any commentary, but I'd like to hear what you guys think.
Okay, well, first off, I just need to say, Kelly, you put in so much effort and research into this video, and I hope people understand that. Oh my God.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The editing, reaching out to officials, digging for information, finding the music, finding the video, finding the photo. I mean, like, you guys, so much effort goes into this, and I just want to tell you, Kelly, like, you are a badass.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I was telling you earlier, like, I started out with my channel just doing uploaded videos. I didn't even do live streams till like a year and a half into it. And, you know, when I do uploaded videos, I really do. I put everything into it. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. Yeah. And the same is for the Ultimatum 2 video that just dropped this past Friday. So you guys have to check that out if you haven't yet, because there's all of that and some kind of a boom at the end. So yeah, thank you.
Do you think it's possible that Dr. Phil changed his tune because he interviewed with the Rucheks and the Rucheks believe the official narrative? Do you think there's any?
Okay, so let me just let me go over like the timing of the production and the of this episode 3 and all that, and his interview with them. Okay, so all right, so you may remember after the February 2019 interview, it was Dr. Phil who shared the news with them, really, and then did along with the like officials, and then because they knew that they were given like word that interview was going to happen. He was going to do an exclusive interview right after. He interviewed them straight away right after, basically after they recovered from learning that information. So what he's talking about here, when he says, you know, people think that she was involved, including, you know, Shanann's family, as a, you know, that is contemporaneous with the aftermath of Chris Watts' February 2019 interview, when they found out, you know, the truth about, that all of them were not deceased at the house, and that horrible journey that Bella at least had to make from Saratoga Trail to Survey 319, and it may have changed their opinions on whether they were going to forego the death penalty or not, or the trial or prosecution, and in a more challenging way for Chris Watts. And for a while after that, according to people that were in communication with them and kind of not official spokespersons, but people like Dr. Phil, the family thought that she was involved. At some point, all of a sudden, that changed, and nobody was allowed to ask questions about it anymore.
Yeah. I remember that interview so clearly because I watched it quite a few times.
Heartbreaking.
And you remember at the end, Dr. Phil says, "This isn't keeping you up at night?" And they're like, "No." And then Frankie Rusick Jr. said, "Well, I am bothered by the searches she did." And then they kind of start talking about that a little bit. And I think that the producers kind of, after watching that interview, were like, wait a minute, we have a little more beef here and we can do something with all of this.
Sure. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But, I think, the important thing, I do think, according to like all accounts, the family was especially after Chris Watts' jailhouse confession, when they learned, that was such a gut punch, is an understatement for all of them. They really were, angry. I can't even imagine how much they must have suffered. Nobody can imagine what they'll be like. My God, I hope nobody hearing this has ever been through something so horrible. I don't want that kind of suffering for any of you or any of us. Horrible. Like, no one should go through that. And, they did believe that she was involved. They were interested in pursuing justice to that degree in that way. And then all of a sudden that stopped and things changed. And then that is around the time when, I don't want to say they started to go on YouTube, because this is how I look at it. Okay. The whole thing with the Shanann's family and going on YouTube and all of the YouTube channels that support Shanann's family. And they should, like, I support that family. I support the families of victims, period. No questions asked. You are a family member of a victim. Like, you have my heart. I'm not going to give you a hard time. Like, they don't need to. So, but then those channels that started supporting the Shanann's family, but then also became the same channels that were hateful against certain, who I mean, like YouTube creators, like in mass and, consistently with frequency and intensity. And it just kind of became a thing. And I don't want to say it's like that the Rusicks, came to YouTube. I think those channels that are saying that they're on the side of that family keep pulling them back into it. And I think it's fucking cruel.
Yeah.
It is. And I think, I've discussed with the two of you what has happened over this weekend, with my situation. And I really hope that the Rusicks take their own platform and speak for themselves. Because I think it adds a little more dysfunction. Like you said, when we've got several content creators creating things, and some of these people are not doing real research and fact checking, and that makes it 10 times worse and more traumatic for them.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of grifters. That's what they are. Sorry, that's what you are. Call a spade around here. Don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, they've just been through so much that they just get a huge pass for me.
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I personally, I don't think they've done it. I don't think they've done anything wrong. Like, anything that anybody does criticize them for, like, they're grieving. They're in so much pain.
Yeah.
They're in so much, they talked about going through depression. How could you not? I can't even imagine surviving after.
I can't either. I can't even. Everything that they do, it just oozes out of them. You can tell. It's just all over them. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's
I also do feel bad for the Watts family.
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
They lost
Me too.
their grandchildren. I do get angry when people call Cindy a narcissist when they don't, like, you are watching 2 interviews on the internet and you're going to diagnose this woman as a narcissist. That's just wrong.
Right.
It's they lost their grandchildren and they're hurting. And anyone else who has children knows, yes, no matter what your child does, you're always going to love them. And if you don't, something is wrong.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's, I recently put out, the some of like the jail phone calls between, Chris and his family. And I mean, my God, and I was anticipating, I knew I just from having this channel for 4 years, I just like, I can kind of anticipate the reaction. People people like hate that woman. And like what you're saying about calling her a narcissist, like, I mean, I don't know what, I'm not sure why people like she doesn't meet like any of the diagnostic criteria, even if you were going to go down. I mean, and I couldn't say, I've never met her before. I couldn't say officially, but it's just like, I'm not sure what that's all about. I know that it's so horrible what happened. Oh my God, like horrible. Every time I say a word, I'm like, that sounds so stupid. It's like, if any word you can say on the English language or any other language, most likely is an understatement. What happened to them is unthinkable. It's just ungodly on everything. But exactly like you said, she is a mother. At the end of the day, that is her child. And I know, I have a son. I mean, I couldn't imagine him doing anything like that, but I know no matter what he does, I will always love him. And I could not.
And I think here's another thing that a lot of people don't know. Cindy did not know the extent of what Chris did until after Discovery was released. So those interviews on television, you guys, she genuinely in her heart wanted to believe that her son didn't do that. And she didn't find out until days later when they're able to read the Discovery, because Chris never confessed. He lied to his parents.
Oh, he did. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's still lying to them.
Yeah.
He still lies to them.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, you're right, Amy.
He's never taken any kind of accountability for what he has done. Not at all.
Even in those jail calls, yes, she knows what he did, but half of actually those calls are when he's in Colorado still. So they may not have digested what really.
No, all of the calls. I'm sorry, but the Dodge Correctional Facility does not release inmate phone calls. We have none from there. Yeah.
So we truly don't know how she's feeling today. I mean, I know there's other creators who have done videos with her. I have not watched them recently, but maybe her feelings have changed. I mean, I know she loved her grandchildren. You can see that in the pictures.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think
they were all wonderful grandparents.
Yeah, people are coming up with the narcissism diagnosis because they're so angry that she loves her son.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know. It's hard for me to understand, but people definitely feel strongly about it.
They do.
Now,
and I would say everybody has a right to their own opinion,
Yeah.
As long as you're respectful about it, just, whatever.
Absolutely. I feel bad for all of them. Their lives were destroyed because of him. Destroyed.
That's the truth. Now, what do you guys think about, I don't know how much you caught this, but I talked about in other videos too, but the timing of the investigator, Michael Prill, and he talks about this in the foreword of the official timeline in the Discovery. This memo was dated on October 30th, 2018. He talks about the fact that he discovered, just due to his own sheer curiosity and what the heck was going on, a bunch of files in Chris Watts' phones that had, an extension that was not recognizable as being, like on the local phone storage, like SMS, like text messages, right?
Yeah.
So he looked into it and he found that there was this like kind of underground storage that the technology that they were using didn't sell right into it, right? So he was like, oh my God, there's all this other communication and storage and content on this next level down inside of Chris Watts' cell phone. Well, we don't know how much of it there is on any of the phones. So on October 30th, that's when he wrote the memo describing this finding and that he was with Expedience going to go apply for another search warrant. And the next destination for that memo was District Attorney Rourke's desk. So that's October 30th. Well, guess what? On November 1st, District Attorney Rourke and Stephen Wren get on a plane. They spend 3 days in the Rusicks' home.
Yes.
In my opinion, convincing the Rusicks to, allow Chris Watts to plead, taking the death penalty off the table. He tells conflicting stories in 2018 and then on his wife's podcast as to which Rusick was for the death penalty or against it. I don't think that either of them really had a strong stance because I think he gaslit them into taking a position. And as Shanann's parents' attorney just said, as I played, if he says all I can say is if it was me, if I had really known what happened and what Bella went through, it would have changed how I felt about the plea. All I can say is for myself. When saying that, he's an attorney. We know that he's reflecting that there was obviously some knowledge of the Ruth feeling that way as well. So on October 30th, Michael Prill writes a memo, puts it out there. I found all this stuff that our technology can't crack into in the cell phones. I'm going to get another search warrant. We've got to see what's in there right away. 2 days later, Rourke is on his way to North Carolina for 3 days. 1 day later, after returning, guess what happens? A plea deal.
Yep.
What do you guys make of that?
What were they discussing?
Why when Rourke found out that Michael Prill found more communications between Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts in his phone, and he was going to apply for a search warrant to see what that was about, he had to put a stop to it right away.
Was it in the calculator or something? Is that what?
Well, initially he found that there was a calculator, okay, it was discovered that there were other third-party communication means,
like WhatsApp or something like that, maybe.
Correct.
Okay.
On their phones. Okay. So in getting that search warrant, when Michael Prill discovered this, they were going to crack into all of those communications that Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger were denying. Deny. Oh yeah, everything was on text messages. Oh no Facebook, no LinkedIn, no nothing. Oh no, don't have that. No. Oh yes. Of course they did.
Yeah, of course.
The text messages just between them, given the intensity of their relationship and how much they were just all on each other, there's not nearly enough to account for the amount of text communication they had,
Yeah.
So Michael Prill's like, we're going to get a search warrant. It's going to be expedited. We're going to find out what's in this shit, what's really being said between the two of them right away. Next, this memo's going right to my trusted friend and colleague, District Attorney Rourke. He gets that memo, and right away, he starts the chain of events that very, very quickly make that plea deal happen.
Yeah.
And make it seem like make it so that the Rucheks think that this is actually their idea.
And the world
they chose this
idea. Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. The world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez.
So there's a reason for that. So we just have to ask, what could those reasons be?
Well, I'm really pumped, Kelly, for this book.
Me too. I can't wait.
Me too.
Wait, you said July? We gotta wait till July.
She's aiming. She wants to have it. She wants to publish it. Kathleen has a really special connection with Cece. Cece's birthday is July 17th, so she's hoping to publish the book so it comes out on the 17th. And our 6 raffle winners from today are going to get the first 5 copies of that book, and then I'll talk about in a minute there. But I just want to finish up this discussion. So yeah, it's going to be good stuff. Yeah. So I mean, and then the other thing, there's like and also, yeah, well, I kind of paused to talk about that. How the investigative clock didn't really stop when that plea deal was made for what I believe are impure reasons, but rather 2 months before, on September 4th, when the CBI sent that memo to Dave Baumhover refusing to analyze the evidence that was already collected in Chris Watts' work truck that would have told him exactly who was in that truck that day and what state of being they were in. Why would they not want that information? Instead of analyzing it, district attorney lies to the family about the deaths of their family members. And upon that information, they make the decision to allow him to plead to take the death penalty off the table. What kind of bullshit is that? That's so unethical. I mean, I remember when my dad was alive, when we were talking about this, he couldn't believe that this man didn't get sanctioned or disbarred for doing that.
Well, Kelly, I think that's also why I brought up asking you guys if you knew how he met his wife, because in my eyes, that is unethical.
Yeah.
So it kind of is painting a picture of someone's behavior.
Sure, that makes sense.
Is it a small town, Fredericks?
It feels like it. I feel like
Here, I'll give you the demographics of Well County.
That a little bit. I mean, yeah, because we were talking to Nicole Atkinson, just so everyone knows, on Friday, and she did say it was like a small town feeling, and she has since moved away, and she says she feels more at peace. She said it was very congested there, and just probably felt uncomfortable to the point where you're running into the same people at the grocery store. And also, there's no one to run against Rourke.
For 3 terms, he ran uncontested.
Telling me not one, like, I'm shocked someone from a small town, like, in the middle of nowhere doesn't even try to come in and run against him.
Yeah, I was about to take up Colorado residency so I could run against him.
Right. I mean, like, that to me makes it feel like it's a small town, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so Weld County has a population of between 300 and 400,000, about 350,000 people. So I'm trying to look at what the square footages of the county, because that would give us an indication. But yeah, that's not too dense anyway, because I know it's pretty expansive. It's really spread out and encompasses all of those areas. Like, think of, like, between like Frederick, Colorado, where Rogan is, where Survey 319 is. It's just God's country ever and ever and ever and ever, amen. So.
And I like what you brought up, Amy, about the oil money and stuff. I mean, like, they want to look good. They want their community to look good. They want these oil companies to come out there and start their businesses up. I mean, there's just so many elements, I feel like, to this case that turns it upside down.
Yeah, totally. Do you guys want to read a couple of the comments in chat? I'm getting things set up to show your board and things like that. Yeah, go for it. Oh, wait, here, I'll make you a moderator too, so you can do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got to pin him so I can see.
Yeah.
Let me move closer to chat. Lounging.
Oh, Kelly, they want you to go to Wisconsin to see Chris Watts. He would have to get on his visitor list, you guys.
I know. Well, Sherry, my girl Sherry, who's a moderator here and a friend of mine, lives in Wisconsin. We were just talking about that. Was when you and I were talking earlier, Amy, about, and you asked, have I ever written Chris Watts a letter? I was Sherry. I think I was talking about that. I was like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. Like, I never, who knows?
Yeah. No, yeah, I was talking about that.
The opportunity to, like, talk to him or interview him, talk to him or whatever, I would take it up in a second, because I feel like I could run psychological games around that bastard.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think anyone would, and I know people would. They would hate you, they would hate me, they would hate Amy, and they'd be like, you're sick. However, how would you not want to get into his head and be like, what is wrong with you? Why did you do what you did? And not even to write a book, just the curiosity of, like, how do you feel now? And actually, we had Jamie here in the chat, and she had a little interaction with Chris because she was helping getting those books published, the religious books. And she told Amy and I that Chris is actually a really good writer.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Yeah, it was shocking.
Because I just envisioned him really using some kind of chat GBT because he was always like doing song lyrics and stuff. So I just didn't envision.
Right. He was a
He had
movie
to
quoter.
Google, like, what does love mean? I like this comment. This person says, I would like to know what the 111-minute phone call was.
Yeah.
I have been thinking about this. Amy and I did a live 2 weeks ago. Sometimes I wonder if they were prepping for the media interview because they knew there was going to be some type of media interview. At some point, they were going to come to Chris. And what's interesting about that is Sandy told Chris not to do that interview. Thank God he did.
Right. Well, in regards to what is the 111-minute phone conversation about, I certainly don't have the complete answer to it. But ironically, the Ultimatum 2 video that I just put out on Friday is going to gives more information about what that conversation was about than has ever been out there before. I promise you. And it's all been verified, vetted sources. It's all flush and
wait. It's posted now.
Yeah, the video that I
Okay,
that
I'm
I
going
dropped
to
on
get
Friday.
the link, you guys. So stand
Here.
by.
I think I have the link right here.
Oh,
I can
good.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I fell asleep on Friday, so I have to catch up with that interview. I haven't seen it yet.
Or no, it was my the
that video.
Ultimatum.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I need to watch it still.
What do you think, Amy, was I know you and I have talked before, but some of these people in chat haven't watched us, but what do you think the phone call was about?
Well, like I said, I've noticed that Chris Watts was using some verbiage and some things that Nicole Kessinger says, like he was calling his family instead of saying family, he was saying my people, her people. That's something that Nicole and Kay said in her interview, and so I noticed that he will mimic.
He's a
what
chameleon. He needs one strong woman in his life, and when he in narcissistic fashion, when he finds the next, he discards the previous, and he attaches to that woman and takes on aspects of her personality, like the chameleon, spineless parasite of a slimy snake, bitch ass bastard he is.
Yes. And that's what he did. I think he was prepping them for what was to come on that 100 and whatever minute.
And we were talking about that weird comment she made where she was like, they were like, did he say anything weird to you? And she goes, no, but he didn't have bed sheets on the bed. And it was like, why would you even bring that up unless it had something to do with something you know about? You remember what I'm talking about? The fitted sheet?
Oh, yeah.
And in that same answer that she gave, she was like, I don't remember what we talked about, but what I do remember is that he had his TV on. And I was like, why the heck do you have the TV on? It's so late. And, that whole thing. And then she's like, and then she eventually says, and I was thinking, is he up waiting for her? That's all very important too.
Yeah, there's so many just like, but then it's like, you remember every other conversation except for the most important conversation that took place hours before this happened. It wasn't like 3 days before. It was
mere hours. I mean, that conversation ended 2.5 hours before Shanann Watts got home and walked through that door for the final time. And I personally believe that she took her last breath very shortly after walking through that door. So if we're working on that timeline, that conversation ended about, let's say maybe ballpark 3 hours before his wife was murdered.
Also, remember when he said, she said it herself, I couldn't sleep. I was just up and I was anxious. And then he'd say, I'd have to talk her off the ledge and calm her down. And it's like, well, what are you so worried about? You don't know this woman.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
what are you feeling so anxious about and you're not able to sleep?
Yep. Yep. No, totally. Yeah, there's like a lot of very suspicious things. But you know, the one thing that she did say, and of course I made a video about this. Like I think people always say, oh, you know, neither Chris or Nicole said anything at all about the 111-minute phone conversation. Then it dawned on me one time that it's mostly in the context of, okay, I do have a playlist on my channel that has all 5 Nicole Kessinger interviews on it. 2 of those interviews are phone interviews. For both of those phone interviews, they are about 50% redacted. At some point during the phone call, all of a sudden the audio cuts off. Don't worry though, because at Watts the Obsession, we have obtained the transcript form of it and I read it out for you. It wasn't easy to find, but we have it. So,
Get it,
and
girl.
and after the audio cuts out, the kind of the juicy stuff, so to speak, is said. Now, in one of the phone calls, right after the audio cuts out, they start talking about what was discussed in that 111-minute phone conversation. And she actually does tell Kobach something. She talks about how he was saying that he's going to be going straight out to the field tomorrow morning instead of going into work. He's going to be going straight out into the field. And, you know, so that was discussed. Now, going straight out into the field, of course, was part of the plan or the eventuality for the murders. We can, I think, safely say part of the plan because, you know, he started planning to go out to the field first thing in the morning, strangely, to the curiosity of all of his coworkers on Friday afternoon when he strangely found out about that oil leak while he was with Troy McCoy exchanging the fire stick that he wanted jailbroke so he could watch his sports on that. Cody Roberts calls like at that very moment, very strange too. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to go out there. Anyway, she then tells Kobach in that same conversation, you know, she had maintained, and for those of you who've heard me talk about this before, you think I sound like a broken record, but these are all very important things. She had maintained that they hadn't talked during the day on that Monday, but when she's talking to Kobach, she slips because she does slip several times. You listen carefully, and the slips are big ones. And she said she asked him for proof that he was actually at Survey 319. And while they were on the phone, he sent her that picture. So, and therefore admitting that they were on the phone and they were on the phone and she is questioning about it. It's a lot.
Girl, I didn't even think of that. You know, one thing I'm also wondering, who is the person who determines if there is an oil leak? Do you know that, Kelly, by any chance? Does she have any involvement with that?
No.
She's the one. Isn't she the one?
No. So she is just one of our moderators here, Kevin, always has an awesome different last name or different name ending to his name. I'm not sure what it is now. I haven't seen him in a while. I have to go way back up. But anyway, Kevin is a veteran oil field expert. He'd been working in the oil fields, exactly what Chris Watts was doing for 20 years. Recently, he did a live stream with us. And, you know, in having worked in the oil fields for so long, he knows a lot about not only, you know, he's had several of the same truck, the Chris Watts fleet truck that he was driving. He knows all about those. He knows all about the positions in a corporation that are related to work in the oil field. And Nicole Kessinger's job really was, you know, in the office, making sure the paperwork was done and that things, you know, the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed for health and safety liability issues for the workers that were out in the field and could be exposed to those health and safety vulnerabilities.
So she didn't have any involvement with like dispatching an operator to go out.
I thought she was the one that did that. That if there was a leak, it was reported to her, and she was the one that dispatched it.
No, that's like that would be way above her head. She
Way
wasn't
above?
that important because a leak that's a really big deal. You know,
because I was like, could you imagine?
Because
I
she
mean,
was
then she would never
quality.
have a job again, right? If she faked an oil leak to give him an opportunity to go out there.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
thought that because she was the quality operator. I thought that was their job.
I mean, she worked in health and safety and environmental. She was an employee in that department, and her specific job was to do things like to like take inventory of the equipment that the guys took out with them to monitor the air quality levels and things like that, like for their personal health and safety. It didn't have to do with anything that had any actual liability for the company, like an oil leak. Like that's like way above her level. Like her,
I just put a lot of assumption in it because with being the quality, and I had heard that she checked the equipment, so I just thought she would check the tanks too. But
no, she if she had a problem with the equipment, she'd be the person they'd report it to, and she would be kind of like the administrative assistant for the person who could really do something about it.
Okay. Do you have a video with the interview with the guy his name is Kevin, you said?
Yeah, yep. Here, I can put the link in chat for that too. It was kind of
I would
recent,
love to watch that.
Ago. Oh yeah, it was so great. Thank you, Kevin. You're amazing. People really, really liked it. He just, he is so knowledgeable. He was able, all these questions that people have always had about, what happened in Survey 319, the nuances,
the opening of the hatch.
He has an answer for everything. He knows it so well.
So he told you about, would it be possible to get him? Because I hear a lot of people say that there's no way that the girls went in through the top. It would have to be through the bottom. So he explains all that in that video.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
He's explained it a few times. Yep. Yeah. They definitely went in through the top.
Okay.
And is it typical that they contract employees or like in that industry? Because I think that kind of saved Nicole a little bit, because now I'm sure she got a remote job somewhere else with a different company, because she was a contractor versus an Anadarko employee.
Yeah. No, I think my understanding is that's typical.
Is Kevin in the chat?
I don't know. Kevin, are you here? Let me text him. Oh, it might be kind of late. Probably has work tomorrow. Let me see.
Oh my gosh, it's midnight.
I know. I got to go soon, guys, because I have to go to work in the morning.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you
wait just one second? Let me just get this. I'm a terrible multitasker. Oh, and I also can't see right now. Oil field. That's why I'm like, okay. Oil field. Okay.
This person says Kevin made it so easy to understand. Okay, so there's the oil link. I am going to.
He did such a great job. It was amazing. He's amazing.
And paste this and put it in my notes to watch tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. Here, just chat for another second. I gotta get my links here to post, and then we'll start wrapping up.
Yes.
Yeah, I really want to see that video now, because I've had a lot of questions about the oil tanks for a while.
Yeah.
He probably answered all of them. He did a great job. Before he came on last time, like I put it out there to take people's questions like a week before. So we had so many questions. He answered questions for like 3 hours. It was really great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like Veronica's comment about how we all know she didn't clock in the morning, but she clocked out that day. And I feel that's very bizarre behavior.
Yeah. I think so too. It is very, and nobody's ever been able to answer that question. And you would think that, it's super strange. You think that would be of utmost importance in the investigation, like having her account for where she was on Monday. Apparently it wasn't though, which is like it's just so suspect.
Yeah.
Incredibly suspect.
So much suspect. It's not just like one or two. It's just like repeated.
Right.
I'm the fact that there was an iPhone there now. I'm going to be thinking about that the iPhone pinged in the house.
Connected to the home router. Yeah.
Yeah, the router. And there was something asked in chat that I wondered too. Does the router log the person's phone? So if she was there in July, would her phone been logged on the router prior to that? Does it save phones that ping?
I don't know. I saw that somebody asked it. I don't know. I'm definitely going to look into it. I think that's a great question. I do not know the answer. I'm not the techiest person.
someone asked about, was she sleeping with someone in the oil company? I don't believe any of this jargon about her dad having high connections or anything like
No.
that. I think this
I made a
was,
video about what he does too. He's an engineer. He always has been.
yes,
His life is
he's
pretty
an
transparent.
electrical engineer. Yes. And he also ironically owns property in Denver.
Okay.
If you remember something about Denver being mentioned
Okay.
in that interview.
Oh yeah, she said she was staying at a spot in
safe-
Denver. Yeah.
A safe place to go
Yeah.
is listed under his name as a property owner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just catch the replay. I'm looking at our comment section here, so people just jumped in.
Oh, awesome. Well, welcome to everybody coming in. So listen, we are going to start wrapping up, and I just want to say a few things though that are important. So I want to say thank you so much to Amy from Crafted. Is it Crafted or Crafting
Oh,
Evidence?
that's
I'm so
me,
sorry.
Jennifer, Crafted
I'm
Evidence.
sorry, Jennifer. I am so
You're
tired,
fine,
guys.
you're fine. I'll wave to everybody.
Amy,
Jen,
here,
Amy,
radio, and
you
then
know.
okay. So thank you so much to Jennifer with Crafted Evidence Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody definitely go check out her channel. And then also Amy from Parawoman Radio. And what is your channel's name doing a soft change to?
To the Power Network.
Awesome. Cool. I love it. So definitely go check Amy out too. And I will definitely hope to have them back sometime soon so we can, talk about more things, Watts, or other true crime cases. And then also remember, tomorrow night there's going to be a live stream. It's around 9:00. It's going to be on the University of Idaho versus Brian Koberger case. We have some connections to make between the new evidence that was released through Dateline. Guys, that was so crazy. Do y'all see that? And the there were some horrible things that came out about what happened to Ethan, and many of you know, or maybe you don't, that the channel had two really close inside connections to that case. They were fraternity brothers of Ethan Chapin. I've been in contact with them since right after this happened, and I put a lot of information out there about it. And a lot of people, really have come to trust that information and so they had reactions to that because it was a lot of information. Some things they did know, some things they did not know. It was their friend's security camera footage at 1112 King Road that was released on that Dateline that I told y'all before that I had seen, not the part of where they show the white Elantra, but a different section of it. They wouldn't show me that, rightfully so. They shouldn't have, they wouldn't have, but I did get to see some, and I was shocked. I've told you guys this before, at the clarity of that security camera footage. Well, when that leaked through Dateline, they had a reaction to that as well. So there's a lot of information, those reactions. So we're going to talk about that. And during that live stream, we're going to announce the winners to the raffle. So it's the Watts the Obsession 4-year anniversary raffle. I just put the link in chat here so you can enter, follow that link. And it's, $10 per entry, or you know what, really, I'm just like, if you put, if you do, whatever, just like it has to go through PayPal or Cash App. I give the addresses. They're all, secure. Well, in my experience has been, there's never been anything that's gone wrong with them. I've been using them for his channel for a long time. The prizes are, the first prize is, let me get it up here on the screen. Honey Bun is so damn talented. See that awesome logo in the corner that she made? She also made this Watts the Obsession. I'm calling it the Crime and Justice blanket. Wait, why isn't it showing up? Hold, I got to change the view, I think. We might go away for a second. Why isn't it coming up? Huh. Come back up. Oh, there it is. Okay, hold on. So, Honey Bun made this. It's a nice big blanket. It's nice and cozy and soft, and it has, photos of the victims of a lot of the cases that we have primarily covered on this channel, and victims that we care so much about. So the first prize is this awesome blanket that our very own Honey Bun made, plus my friend, true crime author, Kathleen McKenna Hudson, her Watts books, Blood and Marriage, which has already been published. You can get the Kindle version or the hardback version. And then also, she has a new book coming out on Cece Watts' birthday, July 17th, up and coming. That's going to be a page turner with tons of really, truly explosive information in it. And the people that win the raffle here are going to get the first, well, it'll be 6 copies because the grand prize winner gets the blanket and the books. And then there's 5 winners that are going to get the books. And you'll be one of the first, you'll be of the first 6 to get those when they come out. So to enter the raffle, again, you can just follow this link. Go ahead and do that. And you have till, you can do it tonight, you can do it tomorrow, and you can enter. People, we've decided, so people that don't like win a prize in this raffle that entered, the next 2 raffles, there's going to be like lots of prizes because one of them is merchandise, and we're just going to give a lot of stuff away to you guys. So we'll carry you over into those next raffles too. And also, Jennifer has also donated another prize. So it'll be another winner. And let me show you what that looks like. Let me just figure out how to share that now because I've got all my video files as you showed me how to do earlier, Jennifer. So great.
Yeah, I'm learning. I got to tell you, Amy has really helped me navigate StreamYard. And it is amazing how many content creators will not help each other, but Amy is one of those people who's so helpful. So to
That's
explain
awesome. And
this,
you helped me, so thank you both.
yeah, to explain this, you guys, I do laser engraving. So in the raffle, we're going to put a custom board. Whoever wins, Kelly will give you my contact information, and you will reach out to me, and I will engrave this board however you like. If you want it to have your last name, we can do that. I can also engrave recipes, and this is just, you know, an extra little fun goodie to throw in there.
That's awesome. I love it. That's so cool. It's customized. It's awesome. Thank you so much for donating that for a raffle prize winner. That's so cool. Thank you. I love it. It's beautiful. You do a great job. How big is the board?
The measurement should be in that picture. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 6 by 9. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that looks. I'm trying to see the ruler. I'm like, I can't.
It's kind of like a mini cheese board, is the way I would explain it.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. That's so cool.
Charcuterie board.
Thanks.
Charcuterie, yes. Oh my gosh. Jeez, my computer just went out again. I do too. So, all right. So, well, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And also to the people who are here, the subscribers, the members, please, you know what I'm going to ask you to do the YouTube thing, hit like, it helps the channel so much. I appreciate it. Go and enter the raffle if you would like to. I'd appreciate the support for the channel. We always need it because of the nature of true crime and YouTube and everything. There's always things changing, not in our favor. And also just because I want you guys to have a chance to win these great prizes. It's win-win. I'm so excited about it. And there's going to be 2 more this May, or if we don't get them done in May, because this one's a little late, it'll be in the beginning of June because we're celebrating the 4-year anniversary. And moderators, I love you so much. You're amazing. Thank you so much for everything you do. Definitely go check out the Ultimatum 2 video that dropped Friday night and tomorrow night. Again, there's going to be a live stream on the Idaho Brian Koberger case. It's going to be a really good one. And we'll announce the raffle winners there. And remember, guys, life is hard. So please be kind to each other. But most of all, be good to yourself because you deserve it.
Awesome. Have a good one, you guys. And awesome work, Kelly. You put in some really hard work on these videos. I cannot wait to watch the rest. I had to stop so we could do this live tonight. So
awesome. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I do very much. Yeah.
Okay, bye, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.